What's up, YouTube? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Prestige Reef Dork Show. Why isn't that playing? That's weird. That's freaking me out. My name is Alex. I am Reef Dork. And the reason I'm getting freaked out is because I have the stream loaded and it runs on a second screen, but I have it out of the way so I can't see it, but it's not playing. But it does say we're live, so we're right. I'm Alex. I am Reef Dork. With me, as always, is Ryan from the UK's #1 coral setting website, prestigereef.co.uk. Ryan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. How's the UK's #1 coral setting website going?
It's going not bad. Not bad. I had a very famous visitor to the coral farm today. Mm-hmm. Almost as famous as me, some would say. Alex came to actually. Well, you spent the afternoon here, basically, didn't you? Or morning/afternoon.
Yeah.
And you dropped off some acros for me, and you also took some white corals, didn't you?
Yeah. I did. I started to cash in my Reef Dork, Prestige Reef Store credit.
That's true. From the jack-o'-lantern, wasn't it?
That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah, I got some nice ones. So there's I bought a few corals. Actually, one thing I bought last weekend, I bought a couple of corals from. I'm obsessed. I can't stop. I've got no space.
You have a problem.
I've got no space in the water box.
Yeah.
And when I'm going to set up this new tank soon, I need to chill out because I've got. Anyway, I shouldn't be buying more corals, but you can't help it, can you? But so I bought some corals last weekend from Reef Keeper Moss End.
Yeah.
And I put them in my sump, and I was like, I'll acclimate them and I'll put them in later. And then I forgot. That was on Saturday, and I remembered on Tuesday night.
So they were just sitting in your sump,
obviously in the bag, but they were sat in my sump for 4 days. I know.
And they're fine.
Absolutely, totally fine.
I suppose
they spend that much time traveling across the world, don't they?
Sometimes, yeah. And I have had it where they survived 4 days in the poly boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
As there was a bank holiday, and they were meant to arrive obviously on the Thursday. They didn't arrive, so then they didn't arrive on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then they arrived on the Monday, and they were alive.
Thinking about it, they would have got some light because I've got a refugium light in there, so they would have got some light, but. Still.
Yeah, I suppose, because the coral that was in the water box where it had no light, that didn't survive, but that was for 7 days rather than 4. So so that light in the sump probably did make a difference. Maybe,
but it was funny, and I did it again today. I put them in there, although actually I put them in yesterday because I knew I was taking the acros to you today, and that would free up some space. So I was like, well, I won't do them yet. So that was just 24 hours. But yeah, I got some nice frags from Prestige. Nice Acan. I don't normally get Acans.
Did you get an Acan?
Gold one? Was it gold? Iron Man Acan? Is it?
What did you? Oh, you got.
No, that was from Reef Keeper. There's a nice Reef Keeper. Have got some nice gold Acans.
you got a Sophastria, a banana Sophastria.
Yeah.
You got a chalice.
Yeah.
Which I feel is like. It's a nice chalice, that, isn't it? But it's underrated. Really
nice. Yeah. Is it on your website?
It is. I can't remember what it's under, if I'm honest.
Do you remember what it's called? I'll see if I can find it.
I can have a look now if you want.
I hadn't seen it before. And the other thing I got was a mini Catulophilia.
Oh, yeah. You got the little tiny one, didn't you? Yes.
Yeah.
And they're all doing okay?
The cat is still sulking, but the others are all looking good, yeah. I can't actually find that on your website. I don't know if it's on there.
Maybe it's not on there.
But it's green, to be fair, and you can't get too excited about a green coral, but it's a different color green.
What about Raja Rampage? Everyone's bloody well excited about Raja Rampage. That's
nice.
Basically just a green coral.
Yeah. But yeah, it's nice, and the Catulophilia, I don't know. I mean, it's quite small. It's probably going to be a while before it looks cool, but
yeah. But you wanted a little tiny one, didn't you? So
I did indeed. I've got it.
And now you got it.
I did. Sorry.
You'll start finding dead. What I've noticed about them is you start finding dead snails around them, and I've always wondered, is it the actual coral that's doing it?
Right, so they're snail killers.
Maybe, but that one's tiny. Like I'm talking about the big ones. You find it used to be like snails. You know those little tiny snails.
Yeah.
It used to be those which they used to kill.
That's funny. I also, one of the other corals I bought from this weekend from Reef Keeper Moss End, I noticed someone else on the Prestige Reef Dork Show Facebook group had bought this one. This is the one I was telling you about, the yellowy greeny. Yeah.
I had a feeling I knew what that was. When I knew when you mentioned it, I was like, yeah, it must be that one.
Yeah. It's
It's a
nice.
nice car.
It's very nice, yeah, and it's sulking at the moment because it's only been in the tank for an hour. But yeah, it's nice.
Is the tank still like 14 kh?
No, well, actually, do you know what? So the kh is still really high. I did a water change last weekend and it knocked it down.
Yeah.
I cut my dosing less than in half. I knocked it down by about 2/3, and it's still, what was it? It was 11 last time I looked. What is it now? Yeah, sorry, 11.3. It's not coming down.
It's going down very. Oh no, wait! You said 11 before.
It
What
was
was it before?
the highest I tested was 13.3, and it's now 11.3
Well, so it's coming down just
a
very
week later.
slowly. Yeah.
But really, and it's not budging much at all. The water change knocked it down by like 1 dkh, and it's just dribbling down, trickling really slowly. It's like,
I think we're about to see a battle in the comments section because Richard Keating has said Raja Rampage is the best green coral, and then Mike Lemming, has just come back saying the classic green Slimer is better than the Raja. I have a feeling I disagree with both of you on those. On those.
well, okay. So in the chat, and in the comments afterwards, what is your favorite green coral? And Ryan, why do you disagree with both of them?
I would say you get those really, really luminous green torches, which I think are nicer than both of them because they add flow. They add like that wavy thing, so they have movement. Yeah. Or even just green star. Well, no, actually, green star pops are not better than Raja Rampage, but it adds movement.
They're nice,
yeah. Yeah.
I really like green star polyps. Barley green Slimer. I'm not that keen on, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's a classic coral, but I don't. Doesn't mean
Christmas Cephastria. It's been thrown into the mix.
Is that the red and green one?
I'm assuming that's a Jingle Bells Cephastria.
Jingle Bells, yeah. They're right. Actually, what's the one I've got? That's the Pectinia. Space Invader Pectinia is nice.
Yeah,
that's probably my brightest green coral.
But again, all the elegance has been thrown in. Now that again will add movement, so it's not just the color. You bought an elegance today.
Yeah, but it's not in the top 10, I reckon.
No, yeah, I agree. A toxic green torch, I agree, is probably my.
They're a bit boring
with pink tips.
Yes, now you.
Those are nice ones. Yeah.
Elkhorn. Actually, they're underrated. Monte Stellata is what it's known. Well, the proper name, I think.
Yeah.
They're actually. So I had one of those in my last tank. This is one of the many points when I grew it out and then decided I didn't like it anymore. But when I used to walk down my garden path, I'd walk past the living room window and I'd look in and see the tank, and that was almost always one of the brightest corals. The jack-o'-lantern was the brightest.
Yeah.
The Monte Stellata was the second brightest. It's crazy.
I love how that's your like method for testing how bright a coral is, because I've heard this story many times.
I know. Yeah.
You're like, can I see it from the end of the garden?
Exactly, but that shows how that's because you can, when you look at corals like right up next to them, you can't, when it doesn't show you as much how bright they are as when you step back.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're underrated. They're not. I don't know. I got rid of it though because I didn't really like it.
I just
got bored of it. It's a Monty.
Yeah, I like those Elkhorns.
It's nice, but it's not an acro.
They're one of my favorite SPS. Like, if people go, I want to begin at SPS, I like them because they're not. So Digis have a very, very straight growth pattern, don't they? That it just goes up.
Yeah.
Whereas with those, it's a bit more interesting. So I advise those for like beginner SPS keepers because it's a Monty.
What about Monte Hirsuta, which looks similar?
I don't like it as much. If I'm honest, it doesn't have the same height. It doesn't have the same height, and it's also a weird colored green. It's more like a darky green with like light yellow polyps.
Yellowy, limey polyps.
Yeah. It's also a pain in the ass to frag as well. It's not a pain in the ass to frag. It's a pain in the ass to get consistent, normal, like equal frags of it. Because I just use bone cutters. So obviously with the Elkhorn, you just cut the stem. Whereas with that, it's like you get some pieces like this and some pieces like this.
Yeah.
So it's not one of my favorites.
Bright green anemone. I don't think I've ever seen a green anemone.
What about green bubble tips?
I don't think I've ever seen a green bubble tip. Let me have a look.
Green bubble tips are one of the common coloured bubble tips. They're not very nice.
I don't really pay much attention to anemones, to be honest. Okay. I've never seen one like that, that's for sure.
They usually got like little pink tips on them. Yeah, like that, or orange in that case.
Entacmea quadricolor. Oh, that's in the UK.
I don't know how true this is, but you can't keep, BRS are the ones that said this. They tried to keep pink and
BRS.
green.
BRS. That rings a bell. Didn't they used to run a YouTube channel?
Yeah, they used to put stuff out, didn't they?
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
they tried to keep green bubble tips with their pink bubble tips, and even though they weren't touching, they couldn't. They like just being in the same water as each other would kill the green ones.
I thought they would. I didn't think they were both bubble tips. I thought they were. One was a rid or eye or whatever, but maybe they were just.
No, it was definitely two bubble tips. Yeah. I wonder if that applies to other types, because obviously there's like the Colorado Sunburst. I think that was one of the nicest bubble tips I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, boring.
No, they're nice. They're nice. I've got. It really annoys me that the cade behind me, that looks pretty blunt. Like the green trumpet coral there, that's really bright, and the GSP looks massive. But apart from that, if I told you that tank was empty apart from those two corals, you'd believe me. But it's not. And when I turn around, there's loads of color and there's loads of coral. But there are bubble tip anemones on top of that rock, all over the place, but you can't see them. And I wish it would show up better on camera. But
yeah, actually, yeah, because they're the bubble tips that came from me, aren't they?
I got three. What two from you, one from somewhere else? Yeah,
but they're super bright, so I'm surprised they don't come up.
I know, it drives me crazy. But then, like, if I turn them on blue lights, maybe it would help. But I don't. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But anyway, how's your week been, Prestige?
How is my week?
Fish today.
I did catch a fish today, but we'll get to that eventually.
Okay. All
right. So we'll just start with that. Right. So 3 weeks ago, I caught the first fish out of the water box tank. To put them into quarantine, because obviously they had white spot. They have now all been treated for that time, and they're all white spot free. But there was one fish which I could not catch, which was the yellow assessor. And you've heard me for 3 weeks now tell people that I'm going to catch it, and I couldn't. And I tried with a fish trap. I tried starving it. I tried. I even bought a little new home for it to see if it would go live in there that I could do it in. I then tried I sent Alex a picture today. Basically a net to separate the tank into two halves, but even that didn't work. You don't know that didn't work, Alex, because I haven't told you yet.
I didn't realize that's what it was for. That didn't look very effective. It just looks like a jellyfish in your tank.
I basically just I wanted to separate the tank, so it was clipped at either side, and it had rocks at the bottom, so the fish couldn't swim through it, so it would have a much smaller home.
I'm not surprised that didn't work.
Why are you not surprised? I was surprised.
There's always going to be a gap that it can get through.
Yeah, there bloody was a gap it got through. Yeah. And so I started taking the rock out, and I thought, yeah, this is great, because obviously it can't get very far. And then it just immediately, within probably 5 seconds of seeing it, it swam straight through the net.
Yeah, okay.
So I then thought, well, I've already taken all the rock work down on the left-hand side of the tank. I might as well just take all the rock work on the right-hand side of the tank down. So I now have no aquascape in the water box, but we'll get there. We will get there.
To be fair, so I saw the water box today I can't remember, last time I saw it was at least a month ago, maybe longer. And it actually looked, so when I turned up, the lights were off, and it looked, the rocks looked like they were covered in algae, and I was like, oh, it looks a bit of a sorry state. And you got some smattering of something on the sandbed, diatoms or dinos or whatever. And I was like, it looks a bit crap. And then you turn the lights on, it actually looks really good. The stuff on the sandbed, that'll burn off in time, or you'll be able to fix it, whatever. But the rocks look, then there's no algae on them at all. They've gone that nice color because they're seasoned. But that tank is looking, well, it's not looking fantastic, but it looks like it's ready to be awesome. It's gone through the hard spell.
Do you remember?
It's ready to be good.
I think before you turn the lights on, what did you think I should do? You said
I was going to say you should. What you should do is drain the whole tank, then you'll catch that assessor. Completely start again, because you just showed me all the fish in quarantine. They look wicked. And so what I was going to say is drain the whole tank. Start afresh, because the rocks look crap, the sandbed look crap. I was like, just drain it, start afresh, get rid of that rock, get rid of all the sand. You can rinse it in RO water to kill off anything or whatever, but just completely start again. And then you turn the light on, and I was like, This is banging. This is it's not banging, but it looks like it's seasoned. It's mature, basically.
It's got coralline algae growing. It's got like, and what a surprise!
Copepods everywhere.
Yeah, there are copepods everywhere, and it like so. Then they're not just out at night. When at night they have like a bloody party. It's like crazy when you see it at night. There's thousands of them, but you can just see them running around in the day, can't you?
All fighting with each other and stuff. Yeah,
it's almost like they know that there's no like predators around, so they're not hiding.
Yeah. Did you added a load of copepods, but I saw lots of amphipods as well. What did they just come in on frog plugs or whatever?
So I have specifically been taking stuff from the coral farm over the last 3 weeks and putting it into that tank. I have put in Stobotellas. Obviously, I put more snails in. There's the conch, not conch. Yeah, conchs. Yes.
Conch, yeah.
I put bristleworms in. I put tiny brittle starfish. You know, you like those little green and brown banded ones, as well as white ones. Dove snails, everything I can find that's weird in the coral farm, which is not a pest.
Diversity,
yeah. I put in there, and that includes I was getting
Asterids.
No asterids have gone in, but I will get to that in a minute.
Okay. When
I frag corals, usually you get all these little amphipods that are like come off the corals when you're like from the vibration of the saw, and each time I just scooped up, put in a little one of the coral pots, and then afterwards I then just put them all in the tank, and then bit by bit, while I'm still feeding the tank as well, the population has just grown out of control. So it's like the perfect seasoned tank. It appears to me anyway.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't want to. That's why I don't want to restart it. I just want to just deal with it.
I almost said now would be a great opportunity to put a mandarin in. And then I was thinking, well, actually, no, this is the worst thing because you don't want to get rid of them. You want them to be there. So,
well, that was the other thing I found interesting. The reason I spotted the amphipods is because after all the fish were taken out, there was a little tiny piece of hair algae that was growing. I noticed, and then in the evening when I looked at that hair algae, and I showed you a video, didn't I? It was covered in the amphipods. So and then the next morning it was gone. So the amphipods are actually eating the hair algae. Which I never knew. So even after all these years, I still learn stuff relatively frequently that I just go, wow, I didn't know that. So, and it must be because what else? I don't know what else they're eating. So,
yeah, I guess so. I'm just realizing I've just seen a picture of a chalice and I've started Googling it. And it's got a crazy name, but I'll come back to that. But but it's doing well though, isn't it? It's doing it well. Apart from that, there's no fish or corals in it.
Yes,
doing brilliant.
Apart from there being no fish or corals, it is without a doubt the best fish tank I've had.
Yeah.
And also, it's got no aquascape anymore either. I will get there. Where's
the rock? Is it still in water?
Yeah. I literally took it out. The assessor was actually in the rock when I didn't know this.
Oh really?
I was taking the rocks out, and then I was like, wait, I can't find the assessor. And I looked in the bottom of the bucket where the rocks were going in, and there was just enough water, and there's a little assessor swimming around in it.
The first tank my first ever tank actually, when I broke that down, I had to try and catch a blenny, bicolor blenny. I think it might have been a Midas, whatever it was. He was just I caught everything else, and so he was nervous because there was no one around, so he hid in his rock all day long. And eventually, I had to take the rock out and just let it wait till he jumped out.
Yeah,
and it only took like 10 seconds, but that felt like an hour. It felt so bad, but he did come out. But well, you did well to spot him then.
To be, as I said, it was lucky because obviously there was water that was just enough for it to swim around in. It was literally like a centimeter in the bottom where it was drained out of the rock. So that's that. What I will say is I think the reason there's two reasons that I've had issues with this tank. The first one is that, and I've said this before, this is obviously my third system. So it doesn't get, although you go, oh, this is a 1,000-liter tank, it doesn't get the same level of attention.
As in you have two other systems. It's not your third ever tank.
No, I have two other systems.
You currently have 3 systems.
So it doesn't get the same level of attention. Now, people go, how can it take you 3 weeks to catch an assessor? Well, the reality is I didn't try even at all this week.
No.
so it didn't take me 3 weeks. You sort of just, if something's a problem, you kind of just ignore it for a while. So that's one thing. And the other thing is I'm not running it in the same way that I would normally run a reef tank. I'm trying to be very, very careful about not introducing something like asterine and starfish. So I had a very sterile tank, which I did with a bottle of bacteria, which is not how I would normally run it. And I wouldn't normally quarantine the fish and things like that. So I'm doing things. I'll be honest with you. I'm doing things because that's what I am expected to do as a YouTuber.
That's crazy.
You understand that, I'm sure, to some extent, where you do things. So, for example, I made the aquascape for that tank in an after. There wasn't a huge amount of thought put into it because I had to get a video out on the aquascape of that tank. So I didn't do the aquascape what I want and what I'd be living with for the next 5 years. I did it in that afternoon because I had to film a video.
Yeah, okay.
So this will give me a chance. I'll probably just do the same thing, but it will give me a chance to redo it if I want. It's just a pain because obviously it's now wet. So it's not like a dry aquascape where you can make it all nice.
Yeah.
I got to try and do it while it's in the water. But yeah, so I accept that tank is 100% my fault. And if you're having problems with your tank, the chances are it might be a similar reason. So you might want to look at yourself sometime. Not always.
The white spot isn't your fault.
No, look, I know that, but
that's really the main issue with it.
Okay. To be honest, that is true. Yeah, but yeah, that is what it is.
And you now have no fish in there whatsoever.
Yeah.
All of your fish except for the assessor are treated and are cured. And so all you got to do is wait for X period, however
7
long.
weeks. Now, if I caught, it's 7 weeks.
Humblefish says.
Yeah. Now, if I caught the assessor, if I'd done what I did today, which took about an hour, and the only reason I did it was because you came to the house earlier and went,
pestered you.
It'll probably just take you an hour to do. And I was like, yeah, probably will.
Yeah.
And it would have been less than an hour to catch it probably. But rather than doing that, I waited 3 weeks. So I'm now actually 3 weeks behind. I would have already had half of the quarantine and fallow period done if you think about it. But it just is what it is.
But then, is it definitely? What is it? Is it definitely 7 weeks? That feels too short.
That's what Humblefish. So I'm pretty sure Humblefish says 7 weeks. I think I'll Google it. I got 7 weeks to Google it. I need to worry. But yeah, I now have a because that's the other thing. I'm now thinking, do I quarantine the assessor with the other fish? Because
no.
I have to wait 7 weeks anyway. So why does it make any difference?
But why introduce a fish with disease to a load of fish that don't have disease?
Because otherwise I've got loads of fish in one tank and one fish in another tank. When
did you hear what you just said? That's not a problem.
Yeah, but as I said to you earlier, I would like to feed the fish more, but because there's so many fish in the quarantine tank, if I split them between 2 tanks, I can feed twice as much in theory. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't introduce a diseased fish to. I know it'll be okay, but I don't see the point of that. Why not treat it for 3 weeks or whatever?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that is true. I could treat it. I wouldn't do something stupid if you saw it. I didn't.
No,
I don't
you're not doing this for convenience. You're doing it to try to improve the health of the fish because you can feed them more.
Yes,
particularly the copper band, but still.
Yeah, that's the main reason. And also, if the copper at the correct level just wipes out the white spot like very quickly. So I think the fish were cured of it in like 3 days. I think they weren't necessarily cured, but it was like you couldn't see it on them anymore, and they weren't scratching. So as far as I'm concerned, that's cured.
Wow. Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I suppose you're right. If I could quarantine the assessor in the other tank, then I could, if you think about it, I could literally do it for 14 days, which is the minimum quarantine period, and then I can move some fish over to be in that tank with them, and then the rest of the quarantine I can have them both in 2 separate tanks. Sounds like a plan.
We've got a plan, people.
Yeah.
Have you been doing anything else?
Only that. So obviously I got a breakdown of an 8-foot tank, which was mostly SPS corals. You saw some of them today. Well, you saw all of them, I suppose. Yeah. There's some nice acros. There's some very, very, very big colonies of some of the more common stuff. But I know most of my business is selling frags, and some of them I will frag. But if anyone wants big colonies that can come and collect them, that's very important. I don't want to ship big colonies. It's a pain in the ass to ship a big colony that compared to a frag. So if anyone lives relatively close to Brighton and they want a big colonies of things, obviously I can do them much cheaper prices. So that's just...
There's something that's just popped into my head that I need to say before I forget again, because I meant to say it last week.
Yeah.
I was when I got that Fungia from Maidenhead Woking, 80 quid one, the orange and green one. I saw that in their display tank, they've got this large, years old, established tabling acro.
Yeah.
That tank it's a softy dominated tank. So it's not got enough flow or light for acros.
Yeah.
But it's a really nice acro. It looks like an Aquapora Donny Eye. So if you're a stickhead and you live anywhere near Surrey, give them a shout, because I think they'd frag it, and it's just really nice. And if I still had sticks,
then asked you to say this then.
No, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything when I was in there, but I was tempted to say, would you frag that? But I didn't ask. But I bet they would. So
you're just trying to sell a coral from their display tank without
no, I'm not trying to get them to sell a coral. I'm trying to if I saw that, I would go in and say, can you frag that? Because all they need to do is snap a bit off.
I don't know what it is.
But if you like nice acros, there's one in Maidenhead Woking. It's not for sale technically, but I'm sure they'd frag it. But anyway,
yeah.
I just had to say that quickly. What else were you saying? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh yeah, so obviously I got that. I got some big Pasiliporas, big Stylos, most of it was like common stuff. There was a really nice chalice, wasn't there? That you liked, which is very
oh yes, really nice.
There was a really, really nice chalice, which is sort of pink and yellow, isn't it?
Do you want me to show you the photos of the things that it is similar to?
Yeah, you can. This is gonna be it's gonna be the coral of the week. So it's that. Yeah, that one.
Okay. Well, so this is a watermelon chalice. It's got a different growth pattern to that. It's probably not a chalice because chalice seems to cover like 1,000 different types. Whatever. But it's not like this. And the one down in the bottom corner there, that's a pink boobies.
Yeah,
which is more. It's more similar to that, in my opinion. Sorry.
No, sorry. I was. You can keep going.
Yeah, so I got that off eBay, and got this off a local reefer. But it's similar colours to that, kind of pink and bright green, but it's different to these two. It might just be that it needs to be in different water for a bit, whatever. But looked after, but it was nice. And I've earmarked it as when you frag it, I'm going to be like, Ryan.
Oh, well, do you know what happened last week?
What's that?
I got a message from the guy. Remember I said I was looking for a very specific blue for Vites? He's probably listening again. And you said, if you're a person who's selling that, you've got prestige by the balls because he wants it. Yeah. I got a message from him going, this is something you really want, is it? So now that I know that you really want that chalice, it's going to be.
I've got store credit with Prestige Reef. You can't deny me.
It's going to be just as expensive as that blue for Vites.
£5 then, brilliant.
Well, so you're telling the guy to lower the price, are you now?
No, that's the point. Yeah, put it down, mate. Cheers, thanks.
Yeah.
Didn't think of that.
Why is there's some random stuff in the comments today.
I've not. I keep looking across.
They're talking about Israel and Palestine.
No, let's not. No chat about that. That's such a complicated scenario.
Yeah.
I really don't want any of that. And to be honest, that's so messy. I'll block anything on either side. I'm not picking sides.
Yeah.
It's a horrific situation, and I don't want any of that chat. So if you talk about it, sorry, but I'll remove your comments.
Yeah.
Don't want to be a downer, but anyway.
Yeah. And the only other thing I got with that tank was I got some fish as well. Massive sailfin, massive regal tang, and 2 cold. There's like cold tangs, aren't they? I'm not really sure what they are. They're similar. They're not particularly attractive unless they're stressed. When they're stressed, really? You see all the lines on them.
What color are they? Just kind of
brown.
Yeah, because it was blue lights. I was going to say like deep purple, but
no. I think they're more of like, I don't really know. I'm not really sure what they are, but they're like a cold tang of some sort. You get a few different types of cold tang.
Yeah.
Or similar type like bristletooth fish.
There was when the yellow-eyed cold tang stopped coming in, because I think they're from Hawaii, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
When they stopped coming in, a couple of these other type of cold tanks started appearing in shops
Yeah.
instead, because presumably importers were, oh, we'll get one of these, and
Yeah.
they're rubbish by
Yeah.
comparison.
Yeah. They're not quite the same. Dan said he'd rather hear about Ryan and Alex's bromance. Ryan and Alex went out for lunch today.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
We did. We went to Nando's.
I've not been to Nando's for ages. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I haven't been to Nando's, since like
For
3
a
days
week.
ago.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, and actually, so one thing actually on that point, Mrs. Reef Dork listened to the live stream last weekend, and as I was on my way out today, she was like, "Tell Ryan I'm on the lookout. I want his £5,000 prize." So
I had a few people contact me about the £5,000, and as I said to you, like in the car earlier, I have no shame. I don't care. Like if it works, it will change my life. So the funny thing is, I went out with someone. I know that you come here for the Reef chat, and you come here for the updates on Ryan's dating life. I know you do. I went out with someone on Tuesday, and I sent Alex a text message saying, "Oh, I'm seeing a girl later." And Alex said to me, "When you're with her, just remember she doesn't cost. You could save yourself £5,000. So, however bad she might be, remember, like, is she that bad?" So, but yes, it was funny because I did have a few people who were, including Mrs. Reef Dork, thinking, and as I said, if it works, it works. So,
okay. Anyway, good.
That's Ryan's dating update of the week.
Just repeating the offer. The offer is if someone introduces you to a lady who becomes your wife, you pay him £5,000.
I'll pay him £5,000. Yes,
this is not like an indecent proposal situation. No,
this is what it is. So if I realize that it takes too long for me to get married to someone, so people will go, "Oh, £5,000. That might never happen." Yeah. If I'm in a relationship for 6 months, you get £500 for every 6 months until I get married, and then you get the whole amount. See how I put some thought into this.
There you go.
So, and look, I'm easy to please. Like, well, maybe not. It doesn't even matter what country you're in, because I had a partner that was in America for 3.5 years. So,
this is very true.
How hard can it be?
Yeah.
Can you take my wife?
Yeah, and £5,000. I think you said that last week, Les. You don't need to pay me. It's getting worse. It's like, come on.
Les's wife really, she might be listening. Les really wants to replace her.
Where did they go on the date?
Nowhere exciting. We just met at a bar.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, nothing. Nowhere exciting, I'm afraid.
Somewhere a big mosaic. That was wrong.
Oh no! I went on my own to that. I'm very cultured, I went to go to see a Roman villa, didn't I, on Saturday yesterday?
You did.
Which I feel like you were trying to get an invite to that. You were like, "Oh, that's the sort of thing I would like," and I'm like, "No,
I wasn't fishing for an invite. No,
I thought you were."
No, I was just because you were telling me that you thought it was boring, and I was like, "No, it sounds cool. That was cool." I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for a mandate.
Yeah.
I was doing stuff yesterday.
Anyway, how has your week in reefing been? We'll get back on topic.
We'll get back on topic, and there are people right now who've clicked on going, "Oh right, I need to know how to grow corals. This is wicked." And then some dickheads going, "Oh yeah, Joe, I went to a Roman villa." And
but I am not some dickhead. I am I am the dickhead.
This is true. But we'll come back onto that soon. But I'll rattle through this because I've not had a massively exciting week. I've still got what you're laughing at.
I can never remember how you pronounce it. Lycia said, "Did you take the bus to the Roman villa?" Because that's what people do when they're like 5 and they go to school. I'm assuming is what she's suggesting.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's a bit of a school trip, isn't it?
It is a school trip.
I've got to read this out. I'm sorry. I see your ex is back on social media with a new tank. Who's that?
That must be Mindy. Yeah, Mindy has got a new tank. I still talk to Mindy, so it's like there's no I didn't know she was back on social media though. I didn't know she was posting about it. I don't know if it's a secret, but she's actually starting her own coral growing facility. Not facility, but like on a small scale. I think she's got quite a few tanks to grow frags. I think you've frozen. You have frozen.
Yeah. Sorry, we're back.
Okay. Yeah, you.
I think it's my Wi-Fi actually. Weirdly, I bet Mrs. Reef Dork is downloading something on bloody Netflix. I bet. But yeah, so she's starting up a coral growing facility.
Well, I think she's bought a few tanks. I don't know if it's a secret or not, so it's probably best to know. I think because occasionally she'll message me going, what lights you're using, or is this a good idea? Do you have one system or two systems? You see what I mean? So,
okay.
Yeah,
It's ruining her surprise. Nice one.
Yeah, well, I hope she does. Mindy was actually very, very good at making the videos. She's far better at making the videos than I am. She literally would just stand in front of the tank, and just talk, and it was fine. Whereas I can't do that.
No, me neither. Far too difficult. Anyway, my week in reefing. So my pet rock. I'm still feeding my pet rock. I posted on my pet rock on Instagram the other week, last weekend I think it was, and lots of people were asking me if I was gonna. At the moment, when I say it's a pet rock, I'll explain for people who don't know.
Yeah.
So my aquascape arrived last weekend or whenever it was, and I've put it in a massive vat of salt water, and in that salt water I've put 2 pieces of my rock from my old 6-year-old tank. So the idea is season all this new aquascape, so it's got some bacteria in it and it gets a bit of a head start basically. It's got a power head in there, so it's oxygenated, and that's it. It's got water, salt water. But people were asking, have I got a heater in there? No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessary. I don't know what temperature it gets down to, probably 15 degrees centigrade, which is pretty cold, but I don't think it matters.
Kill off all those Asterinas.
Yeah, well, there's still Asterinas in there. There's only a couple, but there are still some in there.
Yeah.
So there's whatever's in there is still alive. But also the other question that people were asking was, am I feeding it? And I can't really work out how much I should be feeding, if I should be feeding. It's been in there for about 2 weeks, I think, in total now. And I've put 1 cube of frozen in. That's it. One day I was like, do you know what? I'm going to put some food in. I don't think it's necessary, because I had the rock, the seasoned rock, the mature rock, in a bucket for about 2 weeks before it went in there.
Yeah.
Didn't put any food in. It's fine. And there's still you still see life in there. And I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah. What are you trying to feed?
But when you start a culture of bacteria in a new tank, you have to add ammonia to feed that bacteria.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think it probably is worth doing. But I don't know. I'm not doing it really. I'll probably feed like 1 cube a week. I'll just every now and then I'll be like, I'll put some food inside it. But I'm not making a conscious effort, and I'm not convinced it really matters.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm doing. That's my pet rock.
How long? Do you know when the tank's coming yet?
Oh, next week's coming on Thursday.
Oh, well, on Friday your fish will be there with a
I know.
with a what they did. When the babies used to get left on the doorstep.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that ever happened. Well, it probably did happen.
Well, yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's what it will be like. You came. The main reason you came today was for a welfare check, wasn't it? You wanted to check
see the lads.
You haven't seen my fish in quarantine for a while, so when you came in, you're like, "Can I see the quarantine tank?" I'm like, "Are you doing an inspection?"
Yeah.
And then you came to see your fish, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. And they're all doing well. They don't remember you.
You're fine. Yeah.
No.
But so the tank is arriving on Thursday. And so when Red Sea said when I first spoke to them, they said, look, give us 3 weeks notice, because then we'll make sure we've got everything. They'll put everything inside, but they'll get everything ready in that. And I knew they were being conservative with 3 weeks, but then so I gave them 3 weeks notice. I said, I'm ready now, so whenever.
Yeah.
And they said, is next week any good? I was like, oh God, that means I've got to get my arse into gear now. So it's good because it's arriving soon, but I'm kind of terrified because getting that tank in the house is going to be hard.
Has Mrs. Reef Dork finished decorating?
She's finishing today, I think.
So that means the wallpaper's all gone now.
So the wallpaper's gone. It's painted completely white. Yeah. I've kept 2 birds from the wallpaper. They're currently in my shed. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, but
frame them and put them on the wall behind you.
I could put it up there, couldn't I?
Or literally behind where your head is, you can put them there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I've not worked that out yet. Someone commented and said you should keep a bird or something like that, and I was like, actually, that's a good idea. And Mrs. Reef Dork said it as well. But yeah, but it's coming next week, and I'm kind of, I don't know. It's not that I'm not excited, but I'm more terrified at the prospect of having to get this enormous tank into my house when it won't fit through the door.
Yeah. Look, when it comes to looking after your fish, I'm there for you. When it comes for getting corals to you, I'm there. If you want some help with other things, I'm there. But when it comes to moving a tank, I'm not sure I'm there.
Yeah. Well, I went to Reef Keeper Moss End Friday. I think I had Friday off. No, Thursday off. Anyway, whatever. A couple of days ago, and I was talking to Ed, the owner, and I said, I think I'll probably need between 4 and 8 people from what everyone's telling me.
Yeah.
And Ed was like 6 at a minimum. And it's better to have more people on hand, because if you might find someone's like, I'm dropping it. I've got it, and you need someone to come in and take over.
Yeah.
So 6. But I've not worked this out. The thing is, I've got a rough idea in my head, but I need to work it out, and I need to actually crack on. But when the tank arrives, I'll have to do it then.
Yeah. Is
And what I'm thinking,
are you taking the door frame off?
No, it's going to come through the window. So
is that what you're doing? Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you didn't think my idea was good enough then?
What, the door?
Yeah, I said take off the door frame.
It might fit through the door, but it won't. There's a stair. It wouldn't fit. I couldn't be able to curl it round so that's not the issue. But but anyway, when it arrives. The other thing is, I think I spoke to someone on Ultimate Reef I don't know if they've got the same tank, but they had a similar tank, or maybe they did have the same tank.
Yeah.
And I think that the cabinet, all the stuff for the cabinet, comes under the tank in the package.
Yeah.
So I can't pull out all the cabinet stuff and build it. I'd have to lift the tank up, pull all the cabinet stuff out, put the tank down, and then because I'm going to need to do the cabinet first, but that means I'm going to need 6 people to come and help me lift the tank, put it down, and then that's it. Cheers for your help. Bye.
So the war box was in the garden, I think, for like a week for me originally, and then it was on the kitchen floor for a while as well. Because to get what I will say, if you are setting up obviously a new tank, now is the time to everything you could possibly think of. If you want to get some like tubes or plugs put in the cabinet, you've seen what I have in the cabinet where you can get access to that. Like Jamie did that for me. Brilliant. Like it was one of the best things, because if I want to turn something off, just open the cabinet door there. There's no like going down the back of the tank with your hand and trying to close it.
I really want to spend time. This is not going to be a quick build where I'm making a video every week for YouTube and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I really want to spend time. If it takes me a week of sorting out the cable management, so be it. A couple of things I want to pick up. First off, Thomas the cat, great shout. Alex should get a tattoo of the birds.
Yeah. look what Lysia has just suggested.
If Alex gets,
is it Lysia? It is. Is that how you pronounce it?
If Alex gets the birds tattooed, I'll get a Prestige Reef Dork tattoo. Promise.
There you go. No, she didn't want me to get the tattoo.
Yeah. And Gomi's Reef makes a good suggestion. In the US, you can pay house movers to help move a tank in. Not cheap, but an option. You're famous enough that you won't need that. And I'm thinking, I've said this a few times. I need to. I meant to, after I spoke to Ed at Reef Keeper. I went away and I started thinking about it. I was like, actually, why don't I ask if Reef Keeper Moss End can do it? Obviously, paid. But if not, then maybe Sean at Successful Reef Aquariums. But I just need to figure out. The tank is going to arrive next week, and I'll work it out then, because it doesn't matter if it doesn't go up in a week. It's there's no rush. But just the prospect of getting in. I almost went for a different tank that I could have got through my front door. The Waterbox Frag 175.
That would have been boring. That would have been boring.
It wouldn't. It was such a nice tank still. But part of my thinking was that would be easier to get in the house.
Yeah.
And that was. I didn't go with it because of that, but I did like the idea of it being easier. But
yeah, it wasn't easy to get a load of people to come move even my tank. It wasn't easy. One of the guys didn't even turn up. He said he was going to be here, then didn't turn up. That was it. Never heard from him again. I'm like, but I didn't like that. And the reason I didn't like that was because, think about it this way, yeah? You've got 5 other people have turned up specifically for that moment, So that they can't do this without you. Yeah. And that was it. Just never.
So I've got people I could call. To be fair, my neighbour's already offered.
Yeah.
And he's quite strong. And I've got a couple of mates nearby. I could get. Hang on, what's that? Me, neighbour.
Prestige. If you're including yourself in this, you're going to need 7 people.
Because why is that? Because I'm just a clown.
Yeah. Look at those new lumps.
Me, neighbour. Me, neighbour. Prestige. Christian and Owen. That's 5. So I could get 5 very easily.
Yeah.
And just and Jamie, actually. Jamie would be up for it. Cheers, Jamie. Thanks for
He's away, he said. He said he'd definitely help you, but he's away.
Yeah, but anyway, that's 6 people. But anyway, I just need to work this out. I'm not planning this now. I need to work, but it's arriving next week.
Yeah.
Oh god, I'm kind of a bit terrified of getting in the house. But it's going to be so cool. What I am going to do when I won't make videos all the time, but I will make one video when it's first in, before I put water in it, just sort of doing a walk around of it, because I've seen when I was looking for tanks, it was really useful to see some of the tanks. People had just set it up, no water in it, and they just did a walk around just to show you what it looks like. That was really useful. A couple of people asked if I'll make a video of the process of getting it in the house, and
Just
I'm
do a
not
time
going.
lapse.
Yeah, I might set up a camera somewhere, but
Yeah.
Actually doing that, I want all my attention to be on the tank. I don't want to have to be thinking about camera angles and all that sort of rubbish. So I won't do that. But anyway, so that's the tank.
Quickly, what you'll probably will end up doing is you'll put the cabinet in and you'll have the tank on the floor somewhere. I wouldn't put the tank straight on the cabinet on day one, because there'll be stuff you'll want to do, and then once it's there, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, completely.
So the best thing to do, this is what I did. I had 6 people come one day to move the cabinet in, and then Jamie did all the electrics, and then a week later 6 people came back to put the tank on.
That's the plan, actually, is to I want to get people around to lift up the tank so I can move the cabinet out, build, and then that can just the tank can stay where it is for another week.
Yeah,
and then and then I'll build the cabinet, take my time over that, and then a week later or whatever, then do the tank. So that's exactly what I'm thinking of doing.
You can just leave it in the garden. No one's gonna nick it. That's what I did.
If you bloody can nick it, good luck to you. But
I was gonna say, if someone could get 6 people to come take it away, then they deserve to nick it.
Yeah, exactly. And a question from Mark Aldrich in the chat, off chat, but did you find the Reef Mac clean detritus in your sump? I have a Clarity Gen 1 and detritus finds its way through. And I pulled that up because I expected that to be the case. Actually, when I first got a filter roller, which was an X filter, an Ovitech X filter years ago, I was thinking, wicked, this is going to make my sump clean. It doesn't. And I've got rolling filters on both of my tanks, a Clarity and a Reef Factory. And I've also had a Red Sea one, of course, and the Innovitech. None of them will clean your sump. They will not clean detritus out your sump.
I wonder if it makes it slight. It must have some.
It must prevent some detritus going in there.
Yeah.
But and if you, when you're on day one, if you get it, if you like drain the sump, completely empty out and blast it and clean it, which might not be the best idea anyway, because what else are you getting rid of? But if you were to do that, then the detritus wouldn't come back as quick.
Yeah.
But it does still come back annoyingly. But yeah, but some chav would kick it in for a laugh.
Alex doesn't live in an area where they have chavs. He's posh.
Oh, you got chavs everywhere. Ryan came out the other day, didn't you? So
I'm not sure what you're trying to suggest.
Anyway,
you're the person who hides their motorbike on my driveway, even though like no one is going to nick it here.
Yeah, this is true. But the other thing I wanted to say, 2 last things I want to tell you about in my week in reefing, and then we'll go on to other bits.
Yeah,
I've got my my Reef Casa tank, by the way. I've not done an update on that for a while. When it gets to 6 months, I'll do an update. It's fine, and there's no algae anywhere, no algae on the sand. It looks really good.
Oh, it's just so easy. You're trying to like rub it in or something.
Cake. It's running itself, but I only ever see it for a few seconds at a time.
Yeah.
Or a few minutes at a time, maybe at most, and so I don't really get the enjoyment out of it. But my my mimic filefish is looking very thin at the moment, and I've been feeding him live mysis. I've noticed about a week ago, and I've been pouring in 4 times as much food every day to try to boost him up. And I put some live mysis in this weekend, but I need to get some of that mastic 40. Is it? Mastic 80, whatever it is.
7. I think
pre-mixed mastic, basically.
Yeah.
But he's looking thin, and I'm starting to wonder if they're quite finicky.
I don't know.
Finicky eaters or whatever, because all he gets is mysis, so maybe that's not good enough for him. But
Mrs. Reef Dork is Ryan. Les has just written. I get distracted by the chat so easily.
Yeah. And the other thing, I'm just going to move on. Yeah, because that fish, I think he'll be okay, but I don't know. I'll report back, and I'll do an update when I've had the tank for 6 months. The other thing is that Aptasia that I nuked with Aptasia X. So it's come back. Or it's not come back. It's not completely dead, but it's about a third the size of what it was.
Have you got a billion of them, like everyone was threatening you with?
Not yet. No, but it might still happen. I'm not saying that's wrong.
Yeah.
But it's still there, but it's looking translucent, really transparent, and it's a third the size, and that is great because it's kicked it back. Yeah. But I still need to get berg ears, and I've not found a source. I've not looked for a source for big ears yet. But
you can. There's literally a website that just it's like www.bergear.uk or something like that.
Yeah. Nudies. All right. Well, I'll find that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I'll find that. But that's the. But it's worked in that it's kicked them into touch. Bergearonline.co.uk.
Yeah. Something like
I've seen that before actually.
I've used them before. The problem is if you have wrasse, they just get eaten.
I don't know. That's a good thing. Huh. They're not that expensive.
No.
1 to 3 is 12 quid each.
Yeah.
4 to 5 is 11 quid each. 6 to 6 or 7 is 11 quid each.
You'll put them in there. You'll never see them again. And then all of a sudden your Aptasia will disappear, but you don't know why. That's what happens.
6 months later, it'll come back because they'll have missed a little bit. But
yeah.
Interesting. Oh, what? If you order now, you'll get your product on the 7th of May.
That's they've got to breed them, I guess.
I guess they breed to order. Okay, well, fair enough.
I doubt they breed to order. They probably just have run out.
I better crack on with that because I need to. I'm in no rush to move the water box across to the Red Sea one, but I'd still kind of like to do it relatively soon. But all right, I'll keep that page up, bergiaonline.co.uk, and I'll buy some later tonight.
Do you know when you're gonna? I don't care, you know that, but do you know when you're gonna want your fish? So if it comes in a week, is it a month's time or 2 months? Or
I'm going to follow the Red Sea. So they're sending me along with the tank. They're sending me various other things. One of them is their Reef Mature kit, which is the bacteria in a bottle, basically. And I really like that because that's the same. Basically, it's the same idea, I think, as the stuff that I used on the Reef Casa. Yeah. And the Reef Casa one, the method was you put a bottle of bacteria in, you put a source of ammonia in, and then you see the ammonia levels and you see it drop off over the course of a week or whatever.
I used it. I think it's very good for it's pretty good for everyone, but it's very good for beginners, I think, because it teaches them about patience and the testing and what their tank's doing. And even though it looks like nothing's happening, stuff is happening on a chemical level. Exactly.
But as well as that, I'm going to be putting in my seasoned rock, so I probably don't even need that. But I like the idea of that. So when that's all done, then it'll probably be, I would guess, a month, but I've got no idea. I like that that you're paying to feed them at the moment. So
I'm worried I'm getting attached to them. You see. Like, do you know what's funny? People come in, and this is actually true. They come in, sometimes it's new people, then they come and collect corals from the coral farm, and they're like, oh, where are Reef Dork's fish? And I'm like,
really?
Wait a minute. Well, where are my fish? You've not been here before. So people actually genuinely, they're like, oh yeah, I want to see Reef Dork's fish. I'm like, why? But yeah, so they're like an attraction at the moment. I might start, people have to pay an extra £1 just to go to the end of the coral farm to see them.
Yeah, 50 pence of which goes to me.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this old school. So I'm gonna do the headline title at the end.
Okay.
And we're gonna go. We'll get through the other stuff. There's not much news today, but this means that we're on to member questions next. In that case, and there are quite a few member. So I posted this really late. I had a really busy week with YouTube and other things as well, and I only posted the live stream basically this morning. Was it yesterday? This morning maybe. But I've had a load of questions. So great that everyone's piling still. Number one. From Gary McConnell, would you consider doing a how-to test kit series? I'm not going to do a how-to test kit series, but my next video potentially, or if not, it'll be soon, will be the test kits showing you the test kits I use and why. Yeah. And that will be so Salifert calcium, for example, I would use over the Hannah. So it's regardless of expenses, which one's best and why, because they're convenient, reliable, consistent, all that sort of stuff. So I'll be doing that. And what I might do, I don't know if I'll have time. What I want to do is make a separate video for each test kit on the Reef Dork Extra channel that shows you the full process. So just a video saying, look, you add reagent 1, then you add reagent 2.
Done that already, though, I think.
But I want to do it because then I can link that to the video, and just so you can say, look, but it's a lot of effort and I don't know if it's worth it. But the main video on all the test kits I use and why, yes, I'll be doing that. So it's not really a how-to as such, but it's telling you why I use test kits I use and why they're good. So kind of.
I actually wonder if I've been doing the nitrate test kit correct for all these years, because the nitrate test kit, the Salifert one, comes with a little lid, doesn't it, to diffuse it. Oh, you don't use it? Oh, yeah.
I probably have used it, but a long time ago.
It comes with a little lid. I've never used that little lid. I mean, I think it's to diffuse the light, but I don't know.
The one thing when I make these videos, because you have to go and make sure you're doing it right, so you go and research the process. And I realized you find little things that you're doing wrong. I think, is it the Salifert magnesium one that I do wrong technically? I think it is. Yeah. So with the Salifert calcium, you start dropping in the 1 milliliter of the final reagent. Yeah. And what it says you can do is you can drop in like 60% of it, and
Yeah,
then
down to
do it drop by drop.
0.4.
Yeah, exactly, 0.4. On the magnesium one, it doesn't say you can do that, but I do anyway.
Wow.
So I don't know. What I should do is just do it the proper way and the way I do it, and see if the result is the same. But I can't be bothered. So
BRS once did a thing where they got the same test kit and 3 different people to test the water, and it was
yeah,
coming back with different results. And you're just like,
funny. Yeah,
how
yeah.
this, like, how does anyone do this?
Yeah. So that's the video I'll do for that. Fish Geek 1979 says, how much manganese would you dose for a gonny garden in a 1500 litre aquarium? And actually, do you know what? Because this is funny, because people often, companies often describe how much of a fish food, a coral food, whatever you should dose by how big your tank is in terms of litres.
Yeah.
But that's completely irrelevant. Well, it's not completely irrelevant, but it's one of the least important things. Because like, if you've got a 1500 litre tank with 3 corals in it, then you dose the same amount as if you got a 50 litre tank with 3 corals in it.
100%. It's
So,
like my 2 systems are so different. But if I was using one of those products, I would be dosing the same amount, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
So yeah, I know what you mean. I often that Reef one is the one that I don't know why I've got this vendetta for some reason. I don't have a vendetta against them. I think it's because so many people on the consultations, so many people use this, and so many people on the consultations are like, "Oh, I use Reef," and I'm like, "Okay," and they're like, and I'm like, "What are your parameters?" They're like, "I don't know, but I'm using Reef, so it must be fine."
It must be
right.
Yeah.
I'm like, no,
but it sounds like it should be, doesn't it? But
yes, yeah, I know.
But so to answer that question, this is my thumbnail from Friday's video, by the way, which no doubt you watched, Ryan. This tank here is less than 150 litres. So, and was yours 50 on about 10%.
Yeah.
The size. You can see how many corals in there. Go and watch the video if you haven't seen it, and you'll see how grown out they are to give you a rough idea of comparison size. I dosed 2 millilitres per day in that tank. My last ICP test, which was 4 months ago, to be fair, but I've been dosing manganese for probably a year. My last ICP test in December said my manganese was 0.4, and it said the desirable range is between 0.9 and 4. So 2 millilitres per day in that is too little. And what I understand is that it's not iodine, for example. If you dose too much of that, problems everywhere. Manganese, my understanding is it's more difficult to overdose it, and it is consumed quite quickly. But nonetheless, I might actually increase my dose because it's low. But I start low. I think the instructions on the bottle give you a guide. Start low, stay low for months, and I think better to go too low. But you could, if you've got a similar coral density to that tank, and it's just 10 times the size, you could just do 10 times a dose, but build up obviously over a month or so.
Well, so I did an ICP, and my manganese came back at 0, which is obviously way too low. But it says that on the ICP it tells you what to do. It says dose 0.5 milliliters, so half a milliliter every day for 34 days.
Yeah.
So I just wonder, is this something that can be overdosed really easily if you're putting in such a small amount over such a long time? Because with strontium, they're like, sod it, just put in 300 mils on day 1.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah. That's probably the better advice, is to do the ICP test and follow what they say. And do, because that's the best way to tell is ICP test. It's often 0. It's not always 0. It's often 0, to be fair.
Yeah.
But that's ICP testing, because I don't know if there are manganese test kits. I've never used them, but ICP test just is worth investing in. You can buy a 3-pack of ICP tests and then send one off every month, and increase your dose slightly and see how it gets on. But so that's probably the best way to work out, to be fair. But I did do that, actually. I think I did do that. How many milliliters do you dose of manganese in one of your systems?
So normally none, as in I don't specifically dose it.
Oh, really?
No, obviously I do regular water changes, and the dosing, some of it will be being dosed with the calcium and alkalinity and magnesium that's going in there. But I don't specifically dose it unless I do an ICP and it comes back saying it's low. So then I just increase it.
Interesting. I dose 2 mil every day. I've just made a note to myself to buy an ICP test, because I've not done one for too long.
It'd be interesting to see what if you're dosing 2 mil every day, what it comes back at. It's like 10.
Come back next week, Gary, and I'll give you different advice.
Yeah. What manganese do you use? I use the
Reef Elements
one, and basically do an ICP. Whatever ICP company you use to do your ICP test, use their
By theirs, yeah, because it might be a different concentration.
Yeah, because they will tell you what you need.
I started using the Reef's Elements instead of Triton. I started Triton first, but I switched to Reef's Elements because it's cheaper. But actually, it's only cheaper because the Reef's Elements is a slightly bigger bottle. But Triton does a 1 litre bottle that works out the same price. So, but whatever. Why are you pulling that face?
Well, read John Wright's comment.
John Wright. I saw from a coral farm in the UK that you can't overdose manganese. That was I can't remember the name, but that's where you and I have looked at the same source. Laura, I can't remember her name.
Look, I'm not saying I don't know. I just think you can overdose anything.
Yeah, I don't know if it's can't overdose, but that's why I was a bit cautious and said it's difficult to overdose. It's not like iodine where if you put one drop in too much, everything dies. Slight exaggeration, but
I put iodine in today, so no,
I know, but you can. It's easy to overdose iodine.
Yeah.
And it will cause major problems. I don't think the same is true of manganese, which is what John's saying. Friday night live stream. Yes, Laura. Yeah. I can't remember Eco Marines. I can't remember where
Eco Marines.
Yeah. There you go. Laura Eco Marines, and she knows the stuff with gunnies.
Yeah.
But anyway, ICP test is probably the way to go and do a few. Shamila Butters' next question: is it true gunnies have longer polyp extension when there is not enough flow in the tank?
Interestingly, so when people come to the coral farm, I turn the flow off so you can see down into it properly. Because obviously when it's all like turbulent, you can't see into them. And I noticed that both the gonnies and the torches and the frog spawns all get bigger. They're like considerably, like noticeably bigger when you turn the flow off. So in theory, there could be something
that's
to that.
No flow.
That's true. That is no flow.
So I noticed that my gunnies are always spread out when the flow's off.
Yeah.
But that's not because I don't think that's true at all. I've not heard that. But and my gunnies, the gunnies that have the longest polyp extension, they're getting reasonable flow, more flow than most people would give LPS, I bet. So I think that feels like a myth. I don't understand why that would be either. But so I would say no. But Nano Nana, good name, says, is adding an emerald crab a risk to corals? Sometimes. Trying to eradicate bubble algae, try to feed reflux, and have been manually removing, but it just keeps popping up. Tank is a fluval evo. So I had an emerald crab start eating. Was it that? I think it was eating a stylo. Although, as I'm saying that, I feel like it might have been a sexy shrimp, but they are a risk. Supposedly, someone told me, and someone knowledgeable told me it's females that don't, or I can't remember which way around it was. And there was an explanation for it. I can't remember if it's the male or the female, and you can tell the difference, but something underneath them. But they are a risk, and there are plenty of stories out there of them eating corals. They're not impossible to catch, so I would crack on anyway. And there are plenty of people who have success with it. So I think it's a risk, but I would crack on. I wouldn't be too concerned personally.
There you go.
Anything to add?
No, because obviously that's a small tank. If people with large tanks have problem with bubble algae, you can usually get your tanks to eat it. The best tank for eating is a convict tank. Convict tank. If it's the small bubble algae, you get different types. Some of them really small. Some of them like big. The big ones are like when they're like this, nothing will eat them. But the small ones, convict tangs or any of the zebrasoma tangs usually will eat it as well. But sometimes you have to train them. You have to literally train them to eat it.
Okay. Foxface, rabbitfish will eat bubble algae as well.
Scullies.
Yay. I did have, I can't remember if I took a photo, I can't remember where I posted it, but I found in a local fish shop, there was a bubble algae and it was like a balloon animal. It was these really weird shapes. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But if I did post it, I would have posted it on Instagram, I bet.
So you bought it and put in your tank, like along with the Asterinas.
But it was actually quite cool. But I can't find it, so I don't think I took a photo.
I believe this is correct. That's a single cell. It's the largest single cell, like in the world, I believe. So think about that.
Largest single-celled organism.
Well, think about how crazy that is. Think about how small our cells are and how big that is for one cell.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You're like, yeah, boring.
It might not be true, but you know.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm 99% sure it's true.
Found it. This one. Look at that.
That looks interesting.
It looks really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I can't remember what the question was. Rabbitfish. So
I might be wrong.
No, it's not. Yeah, PhD.
That's
Everything
not true.
PhD
Oh, that's
related says no,
interesting.
that's not true. And someone else
It
says
is
it is
true.
true.
Oh no.
Right.
I'm gonna Google it.
But yeah, emerald crab for a tank that size. 2 more questions. One from Edward, who says, "At the hospital with my wife and our brand new baby boy." First off,
Like, just to clarify, largest single cell organism. The picture of bubble algae comes up.
Okay. Congratulations, Edward. Ryan's more interested in algae, but whatever.
I
And
didn't hear what you said.
he said he's at the hospital with his wife and his brand new baby boy.
Oh, congratulations. There you go.
Okay. Any advice, any Reef Dad advice on not crashing the tank in the next month? I have calc, ATO, and feeding controlled by Hydros. You've gone away for extended periods of time.
Yeah, but my tanks are usually set up well in advance.
Yeah.
To prepare
I
for
think
that.
you know when a baby's coming.
That's true. Oh, well,
So,
yeah, but if he's in hospital, the baby must be there.
yeah.
So,
but as in, he probably knew it was going to happen.
That's usually how it works.
When a mummy and daddy love each other very much, Ryan.
Yeah. As I always, everything's just automated for me. I'm not really sure what the question is, if I'm honest.
How can I avoid it crashing? I mean,
well, why would it be crashing? Because I'm assuming he's going to go home and look after his baby and his fish tank still.
I don't know. Maybe he's going to have to stay at the hospital. I don't know. But yeah, it's hard. Good. Well, because you're not going to have any sleep for the next 15 years.
That's true. But think about it. When the baby wakes you up in the morning, what you can then do is rather than go back to sleep, just go maintain your fish tank. You'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy.
Do you know what? Do you know what is actually? So I had to do is my 1,000-litre tank was at my parents' house, and my sister had moved in with my parents like briefly. I say briefly for like 7 years, and she had children. And I had to put safety devices on the doors of the fish tank to stop them from going in there, because obviously when they're like toddlers and things like that, or even a bit older than that, they get really this big shiny blue thing that's with glowing lights. They're interested.
What can I put in the sump?
Yeah, I had to train Eva, which is her older daughter. I was like, this area you're not allowed near this at all. We do not touch the fish tank. We don't touch the cabinet. We don't touch the glass. Nothing.
But she was like, forbidden fruit.
Yeah,
must touch it.
No, to be fair, she did. She was good as gold. She never did. But I still had specific things on there to keep them out just in case.
Okay, well, so no real advice on being a parent. Ask Reef Dudes. He's a Reef Dad.
Yeah,
and Moki, inappropriate reefer.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, congratulations is what I would say. And the final one is from The Crusade, who says, have you guys ever used DD Blizzard? And it's actually Reef's Elements Blizzard. And I love that question because it segues into the headline topic. Thanks for hanging around, everybody. And this is, so I'd not heard of it before, but it's basically, I think it's coral snow, calcium carbonate, which is what Inappropriate Reefer posted about a DIY version, and then Moki did, and Devon did, and there's been around for ages. But I looked this stuff up. I'd never used it, and it says Blizzard is a marine polymer that acts as a flocculant to capture both organic and inorganic pollutants in the water, which are then removed by the skimmer or filter roller to help regulate nutrient levels. I'm sure it does do that, but that sounds like nonsense to me. Sorry, but then I'll explain what I mean. I'm not just saying this is nonsense. It helps to manage the natural nutrient cycle and adds acids in the aquarium, leading to long-term nutrient stability and higher pH. Again, I don't understand how adding acid increases pH, but again, fine. Blizzard purifies the water by removing undesired compounds, leaving the water crystal clear. It also helps carry nutrients to the corals, which will increase growth rates. And it's that product, I've got no problem with it. This stuff has been around for years. KZ, was it? There was
corals,
yeah. So and that whole method was, people use that stuff, and it's been around for ages. It does the thing. But the last thing I have, the last line of this, it says it carries coral nutrients to the corals, which will increase growth rates. That's the thought, and this is the sort of thing that we're going to talk about today. If you're looking to secrets to increase growth, you might have clicked on this thinking, I wonder what bottles they're putting in. That is not a secret to increasing growth. That is not, and one of your rules is you should not touch anything like that until you've got everything else, the basics, nailed down. So Ryan,
is this
segue on.
Is this where you're going to throw me into? I thought you said we're doing the same as before.
How do you make corals grow?
To the news?
All right, we'll come back to that in that case. We'll do.
So, it's fine. It doesn't matter to me. I just
no. So I've never used that. Ryan's never used it. But look at
Yeah.
the Inappropriate Reefer and Reef Dudes videos. They've done it recently. And if you can find the KZ forums, I'm sure there'll be loads of people on it. But it doesn't that sort of stuff doesn't appeal to me at all. I'm sure it's very good at what it does or whatever, but it just doesn't appeal to me. But yeah, okay. So Prestige Reef Fish of the Week, Ryan.
The fish of the week, I'm going for a common fish this time. Normally I pick something weird and wonderful. I'm literally going for just Banggai cardinals this week. The reason I'm going for Banggai cardinals is because this is like a public service announcement for people who have Banggai cardinals. The female lays eggs in the male's mouth, which is what makes them interesting. The male then will not eat for 21 days. And then I think that's when the eggs hatch. I believe it was a long time ago, so this might not be 100% correct.
We talked about this last weekend.
Did we?
It's 28 days in total, roughly.
Well, there you go. Did we talk about it last weekend?
Yeah, because I had the same issue. One of them, the male died.
Oh,
because of consecutive breeding.
Okay, so this week's fish is pajama cardinals.
No, it's not. No, I'm not having pajama cardinals this fish a week.
Why not?
Because horrible fish. Boring.
See, some people love pajama cardinals. Well. Yeah, I don't like. I like Banggai cardinals. Interestingly, is that they were like endangered in where they come from. I don't know if they still are, but I know they definitely were endangered where they came from. But they also are invasive in other parts of the world. So you know how like lionfish are invasive. There are invasive Banggai cardinals around as well. So the best thing to probably do is go collect them from that place, considering we almost reached their population like extinction. Go to that place where they're invasive and collect them from there instead.
Or just buy them from Maidenhead.
That's true.
Or other local fish shops are available. And the coral of the week is, we've already discussed.
We already done it. That's a watermelon chalice, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. And the one you have is not yet available for sale, so there's no point.
True.
I don't know what it is. I'd like to know what it is because it's different to these two.
Not sure.
Watermelon chalice is lovely.
Very expensive. It's going to be like the Prestige watermelon 24K luminous ultra toxic chalice. You said you got that pink boobies one off eBay.
Yeah.
Was that a ultra rare super? No, eBay's known for that sort of thing.
It is. This was from Reef Solutions. It was just called Pink Booby Chalice. But the annoying thing with that is I bought one. It was 80 quid, quite expensive. I bought it. It arrived. I put it in, and the next day I saw half of it stripped. I was like, oh God. And obviously as soon as a coral dies when you put it in, you're like, bloody seller. And it's stripped, and then they're like completely stripped over the course of the next couple of days. I was like, I wonder why that is. Tested my salinity, and it was like 38 parts per thousand.
Yeah.
So I had to buy. I had to get my salinity back down, and then I bought another one from the same vendor, and it was totally fine.
Yeah, it's always someone else at first, isn't it?
That's the thing. But I did then. To be fair, I had the sense of.
This is what makes me so mad as well. So often it doesn't make me mad, but literally it blows my mind how often this happens. Where someone will go, and it isn't necessarily one of my corals. It could be any corals. They go, "Oh, I bought it could be during a consultation. I bought a new a frog spawn, and it's not doing very well compared to all the other frog spawns, and all the other ones are doing well." And I'm like, well, firstly, what are your parameters? And they can't tell me. And the second thing is like, just because one species of coral is doing well does not mean all of that species will do well.
No,
it doesn't work like that.
and even to be fair, and I know that I need to check in those circumstances.
Yeah.
And I eventually did have the presence of mind to. But even then, and I've been doing this for a while, even then my first thought was bloody hell.
Yeah, of course.
But I identified them anyway. But yeah, watermelon chalice. I don't see it around very often. I got this from a guy on Ultimate Reef. Again, Ultimate Reef is a really good place for. That's where I get most of my nice corals. But you must be able to buy it online somewhere.
I'm surprised that you don't see it very often because it's one of the night. I think I've only seen it in a couple of places. I saw it up in Manchester once, but they weren't selling it. It was at Kraken, I think.
I'm not sure if that looks like pink boobies to me. Oh no, that does look like watermelon. So you can get it from Royal Reef, $37.45. That's pretty cheap. Put your prices up. There you go. So you can get it in the UK. Although that does look different to mine, but
I wonder why it's not, because like Raja Rampage is everywhere now. There's loads of it. Whereas just an equally as nice chalice, arguably I would say
I
nicer.
think nicer, yeah.
Yeah, is not as well.
Right, it wasn't around that long. That it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
It was hard to get.
it became one of those corals which were like fashionable.
Yeah,
Like
and it turns out it grows really quickly.
Yeah.
So when like 100 people buy it, and then
Yeah.
6 months later, everyone's selling frags a bit cheaper.
Yeah, it's funny how there are some corals that do become fashionable. The jack-o'-lantern was fashionable at one point. Even things like grafted Montipora were at one point I remember the days where you couldn't get grafted Montipora in like here at all. Like I had to get mine from who was it? I did a video on it. I can't remember their name. Alpenreef, I think. I had to get them from Europe. So you see, like, but now, like everyone's got it.
Yeah. Can't get rid of it.
So yeah, Azoas are terrible for it as well.
The Abyss have also got it for 29 quid. I think that's cheap, although they've called it hyper watermelon chalice. It's not
ultra hyper super watermelon chalice,
and it's less money. That should be more money because it's got hyper. But you can get it. It's really nice. I think that's nicer than Raja personally. That's one of my favorite corals. Lovely. And I don't want to frag mine because it's such a nice shape, a nice disc shape. But there'll come a point when I need to, but it's not yet. So I've just realised I've got leverage over you.
Don't tell people that. Don't tell me what I told you.
For this coral that I want, this weird chalice.
Yeah,
I've got the WWC Stellaria chalice that you want.
That's true.
So I can bribe you with a slice of that.
But you also have to remember that I care hardly anything about most things. So
yeah, but
I feel like you want this more than I want it.
Anytime you come to my house to look at my tank, you're not looking going, oh mate, that looks really nice. You're like, what could I frag off him?
Occasionally, mostly there was only a couple of things in that water box. See, I know what can and can't be fragged. So if it was like, and most of your corals used to be SPS, and I wasn't particularly interested, was I, in like the acros and things. It was, whereas I don't look at your goddies and go, oh yeah, I'll have some of that, because I know you can't frag it, if you see what I mean.
I can, but not
easily.
Yeah. Very true. You need a bandsaw, ideally, don't you think?
Yeah. If only you knew someone who had one.
Yeah, exactly. I should buy one, to be fair. I bet I'd get enough use out of it.
I doubt it, if I'm honest. That's genuine. I genuinely mean that. I only use mine probably every 2 weeks. So, and I've got a coral farm.
I wouldn't use it often, but I still think it would be worth my while doing. But
anyway.
All right. Well, that is all of the coral that we can fish the week, and that means we're on to a very brief news.
There is no news. Play the tune.
Hang on. That would have been funny if I had it lined up. But
yeah, true.
10-second pause. So the one thing that so Ryan, you don't tend to like equipment news, right? But when it's something genuinely innovative and really exciting that no one's done before, rather than just an incremental upgrade, you love it. You actually like it.
I feel like you're building me up for something that this is not what this is actually.
Well, we do not have a brand new exciting product. We have an incremental upgrade.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's the Alcatronic.
Okay.
And I'm going to let me just also share tab audio. Yes, I want to do that. And I'm going to do this because this is Focustronic do these videos, and they get these AI bots. They're quite realistic, but they get these AI bots to read the script out. And I'm going to add the audio so you can hear this. And I'm going to play this. So
I remember this from last time.
Hang on, where's the volume? Here we go. Turn that up. Here we go.
Focustronic is dedicated to updating and improving our range as technology evolves, and help you achieve your very best in making water stability through true integration and automation easier. Stay tuned for release.
I mean, it's terrible. I hate that. Just there's got to be a better way to present this. Anyway, whatever.
I feel like I'm on a flight. You know when they do the flight like direction safety. That's what it feels like.
It does. But anyway, so there's an incremental upgrade to. They bring out. I think it's called the Alcatronic Pro. So there's a new Alcatronic, and I wrote down a list of the things it did. A lot. They listed 10 things that it did. Half of them were just like generic. It was like, we've made this bit better. It's like, well, what does that mean? But anyway, there are a couple of things that were worth mentioning, though. It's now got a temperature sensor, and apparently it can control temperature. I'm guessing people are talking about you Oh, Ryan, we found you a girlfriend.
Yeah,
That's a great shout. Anyway, so it's got a temperature sensor, and apparently this can be a temperature controller as well if you use the Powertronic. But and it can test pH, and I presume it will test. Ryan's just reading the chat, so
I am just reading the chat. Look, it's mate.
But it can. So the Ultrasonic Pro can test pH, but I think that will mean what it will do is it will draw in a water sample. It will tell you what the pH of the water sample is. So that won't necessarily be the same as your tank. It won't be 100% accurate, but it'll still give you an indication, which is what the Reef Factory Cage Keeper does. So it's better than nothing. Although don't rely on it.
Me looking serious. Yes.
Yeah, I know. I can see. It will also show you your temperature, which is useful, I suppose. And it's got a quieter pump B. And the most pointless. This is a pretty uninspiring upgrade, but it's better than the last one, I suppose. But the worst thing of all of this was
contactless.
Worse, it does voice commands, so you can be like, Alkatronic, test my alkalinity. What's the point?
Look, if that works, I actually quite like it.
No, come on.
I turn my Roomba on with my Alexa.
Oh my god,
that's like a new level of laziness.
I've got Philips Hue lights, and I that's really useful. So I can be like, Alexa, turn on kitchen or whatever.
Yeah.
But for doing a test, that's just such a gimmick.
If you think about it, I'm using a robot to turn on a robot.
Yeah, you are. But anyway, that's the news. So there's new Alkatronic coming out. I didn't see any details of pricing or release dates or whatever, but there's an Alkatronic Pro. It's called Alkatronic Professional. Next piece of news, and this is parking news, Ryan, and that's just as exciting.
Yeah.
Aqua H, which is the UK's biggest coral show potentially, which is on from the 21st to the 22nd of November. Tickets are 12 quid. I've got my tickets. Ryan's got his. Yeah. There's parking update. So there's 10,000 parking spaces. It's mental.
Riveting.
Yeah. And there's also accessible parking, and basically, but yeah, that's the best update I can do, because it still feels a few months away. Well, it isn't a few months away.
Yeah.
But if you were worrying about what the parking is going to be like, the parking is going to be good.
I was, but now I know that there's 10,000 spaces to choose from. I'm happy.
Yeah, I suspect they won't all be available, but anyway. And the final thing, this isn't really news, but BRS has dropped off the face of the planet. I
wouldn't notice.
No, I looked at their main channel the other day, and they've not updated for at least a month. And it feels like I'm sure they're just like they've just got stuff going on, and they're trying to work out how to do things or whatever. But it feels like they're pretending nothing ever happened with that video that Ryan said, "Oh, I'm leaving." By the way.
Yeah.
And it's because they deleted that, and it's like, can you just tell us what's going on?
It almost also, like, I know it's part of the company, that channel, but if in the future I sold Prestige Reef, if you see what I mean, it's almost like I feel like the channel is mine.
Yeah, completely.
Well, I suppose when people build a company, it's the same as building a channel, I guess. So, like, they probably feel the same way. But yeah, it's just. But
YouTube channels are different from a company, because normally with a company, you have a CEO, and if you take the CEO away, they're just sat at the top, nothing happens. So you put a new CEO in place.
Yeah.
If that's a pyramid with all the staff underneath it. Whereas with a YouTube channel, it's upside down. So you've got the YouTuber at the bottom and all the staff at the top. If you pull the YouTuber away, everything comes crashing down.
Yeah.
And that channel is him, basically. But it's like when you go for like a month on a big channel like that without announcing anything, without talking about it, people start to speculate, and you start to think, oh, I wonder if they've fallen out, or I wonder if there's a problem. And what's going on?
Whereas if I go for a month without posting, people are like, no, it's just same as usual, same as the usual schedule.
But I put it on there because I was like, I just want to know what's happening with BRS. So, and I don't know.
Thought about making a video today. Just
you thought about it? Wow, right.
No, as in I was going to make a video today, but then I changed my plans just for you. So. But I wasn't that committed to the idea.
Found it. But anyway, I don't have any update on BRS. I thought I'd mention it because I want to know what's going on, and I don't know. And that concludes the news. And there we go. So yeah. What else again? What happened to BRS exactly? I don't know. Who knows?
Well, the sad thing is I didn't even notice.
No, but I just went looking because I was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, when was the last time they posted? It's like, because they did that, they made that announcement sort of on the slide when they said Ryan's leaving.
Yeah.
and then it's like, and then it all disappears. Just tell us what's going on. Anyway, whatever. It's not really my place. So do what you want. But I want to know. Text me quietly. If anyone from BRS is watching, just like send me an email.
For those of you who don't know, Alex is the biggest gossip.
I'm not that much of a gossip.
He likes to know all the ins and outs. He likes to know.
Do like a little bit of gossip occasionally. I don't like drama, but I do like
gossip and drama are different. Gossip is like information.
Yeah.
But drama's like when people are fighting, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's probably right. Yeah. But anyway, so Ryan, tell us all of your coral secrets. How do you grow coral? How do you grow coral so fast, Ryan? What are you doing?
Okay. Well, Alex is so mean, so you know, because I wasn't told. I didn't know that this is what we were going to be doing until you all know that this was what we were doing. Alex sent me the email the same time it was posted, and he just says, "I look forward to hearing all your secrets." I was like, "What does that mean?" So I did put some thought into it, and I will do this in two different sections. Okay, so there is one way which does actually increase your coral growth. This is so that this is not clickbait, and I don't recommend this. So so if you increase your elements as well as your nutrients,
what do you mean elements?
So if you increase your so there is some confusion with this. Firstly, a lot of people think you just increase your alkalinity. So just increasing your alkalinity will not give you what you need.
Yeah.
If you increase your alkalinity, you also need to increase your calcium, magnesium, nitrate, and phosphate so that they are balanced. Now, just before the stream, do I tell people what you said to me about your water box tank?
Not really, no. But
why not?
Because anyway, all right. Because I don't want to encourage this kind of behavior.
Yeah, I'm not advising this, and I'll tell you why I'm not advising this. But I'll let Alex.
Yeah, so I found a load of photos recently from 4 months apart, from today and 4 months ago, basically. And I think I talked about it. I've posted them on Instagram and that sort of stuff, and the growth was quite good in some places. But what I realised was I accidentally increased my alkalinity to 13.
Yeah.
Now I don't know how long it's been at that level. It might have been a week. It might have been 6 months.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you, but I did wonder. I did pause and think, because I'm doing all the other things I'm doing right. Is what I think is giving me the results. But I did think, it's not impossible that that's contributing to it.
I absolutely think it probably would have contributed. You have slightly higher you have higher nutrients in that tank anyway, I believe.
Low nitrate.
Okay.
Phosphate 0.2, but has been higher. I don't know. Go on.
The other thing I forgot to mention is you have to have high light as well and flow.
No, reasonably high flow, but low light, 150 par maximum, 80 in most places. And what else was I going to say? I can't remember. But so and my magnesium got quite low as well, actually, thinking about it. It was only when I leveled that up.
So what I just said, ignore it. Basically, just increase your alkalinity to 13 and you'll be all good.
But I don't think that's what...
Don't do that.
Yeah. I don't think that's what caused I don't think that's the sole thing that made all the difference. But anyway, Ryan, tell us your secrets.
I don't have any secrets really, but so the other thing is obviously if you increase your pH as well, it's known for increased coral growth. However, there are some things which people think will increase their coral growth, and they can increase your coral growth, but they can also have a negative effect. So what I wanted to say is, so people will often think that feeding is a great way to increase your coral growth, but that is also often a great way to increase your phosphate, which reduces your coral growth. So you have to be careful, because feeding is one of those things where you might think you're doing a good thing, but actually you're doing more harm than good, is what I was saying. I think you agree with that, I believe.
Someone asked me what team I support, and I was trying to catch up on the football chat. So
you were busy. You were busy. You thought you'd throw me in this and then just leave me to it, did you?
What did you say? I'll listen this time. Come on.
I said feeding is sometimes feeding can be beneficial to some corals.
Feeding corals, yeah.
However, most corals don't need to be fed, and quite often you can actually create more of a problem by adding extra phosphate to the tank, and high levels of phosphate reduce coral growth.
Has knock-on effects. And this is I made the video on Friday that was It was, and this is where the idea of this title came from. Really, it was
Yeah.
my secrets to success in keep, and basically it was how I run the tank, and that was the
Yeah.
idea. And in that video, all I mentioned was keeping calcium, alkalinity, magnesium at the correct level. Getting light and flow right. Doesn't really matter what brand light you have, but just get it right. Get flow right. All those, and salinity. Bloody hell, that's made such a difference. Getting salinity
that usually
right.
kills things if it's wrong.
Exactly.
Definitely slows growth.
But the point I wanted to make was, and someone asked, well, what about feeding corals? You don't need to feed corals. You can. They're absolutely. It is beneficial, of course, in certain circumstances, but that's the sort of thing. And I didn't say this, but I've got it. I've got a note to say in one of my other videos. Is that, in my opinion, the rule should be, if you've got all your elements nailed on, your nitrate and phosphate nailed on, you've got your lighting right. Doesn't mean you need a fancy light. You've just got it right. You've got your flow right. You've got all that right. Then and only then can you start playing with other things. Like whatever you just said a second ago, which I've forgotten. Oh, feeding corals.
Yes.
Yeah, you shouldn't be messing around with all that sort of stuff until you've nailed all of that.
Well, that's literally the next thing on my list. Basically, it says get everything else right before you start dosing random shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally what I've written down.
Yeah.
Because again, a lot of this stuff comes from like the consultations I do, and people go, "Oh, I go through with people what they're putting in their tank," and it shocks me how some people are putting like 6 random bottles in, and I'm like, I don't use any of these. So if I don't use any of these, it means you don't need to use any of these.
But it's the sort of thing, and this is, to be clear, this is like there are some like Frag Garage do the Beyond the Reef podcast. Go and check it out if you're not watched it already. It's good. But so he does for stuff that is aimed at expert level, that goes into the minutiae of everything, and will go over the really fine things that he assumes that you're like getting everything right, and then he'll tell you all these other clever things you can do. So this is not aimed. I'm not trying to. This isn't a live stream to teach experts how to improve growth. This is really aimed at people who are newer to the hobby, I would say. And it's very easily to get misled and think, right, what bottles do I need to pour in? And that's why that Reef Blizzard, whatever it was called earlier, I'm not saying nobody should use it or it's rubbish and all that sort of stuff. I'm just saying, if you're looking at your tank and it's not growing quick enough and you're thinking, how do I get it to go quicker? I must buy that. That's not the way to do it.
Do you know how often I ask people as well what that bottle does? And they go, I don't know. And I'm like, well, if you don't know what it does, what do you think it's doing for you? And even sometimes when you read them, how some bottles, I think like Tropic Marin are the ones that usually drive you crazy. Some bottles, even when you read the instructions, you still don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And you can't tell by the name of what they are either.
No.
Especially if they're like bacterial products. You're just like, it's adding some sort of something and it's meant to be doing something, but what is it actually doing? And I just go, well, stop doing that and see if anything changes. If nothing changes, I wouldn't worry about it.
But that's difficult, because if you only know that if you change one thing at a time.
Yeah, true.
And I always think I should just change one thing because then I'll know. But I end up thinking, well, let's just change 2 or 3. And everybody
want to speed up the process, don't you?
Exactly. And also sometimes you think, well, I know this is wrong, so I'm going to change that.
Yeah.
But
well, that leads me on to the next thing. Don't dose anything that you're not measuring, because another thing that happens, people go, oh yeah, I'm doing this, and I go, how do you know if that's a good or bad thing? Because you don't know. For example, with your manganese, I know it's different because you use ICP tests, but there'll be other people who will have listened to you and go, well, Reef Dork doses 2 mils of manganese. I'm now going to dose 2 mils of manganese, and people go, oh, I've got a problem with my tank, and I go, well, maybe it's your manganese because you're not there. Like, if you see what I mean, like please. You don't know what it is, because and I say to them, you realize that you could be just as likely overdosing as you are underdosing. Therefore, you're just as likely to be causing the problem as you are fixing the problem if you're not doing any testing.
Yeah.
So that was the next thing that was on my list. Then I had...
So on the point of I'm just going to kind of dig that a bit further, because on the point of don't dose what you can't test for.
Yeah.
I think that is generally a good idea. But with things like manganese, for example, I don't think maybe there are test kits. If there are, I've never used them. But I think you're okay to test for that, to dose for that, if you're especially if you're doing ICP tests. So
yeah, well,
you
then you are
can't.
testing.
I suppose so, but but even with ICP test, I've not done one for 4 months. That's probably should have done one by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, actually, to be fair, I don't think I disagree with that.
Okay, is anyone in the chat, and you'll be honest, you won't get in trouble. Is anyone in the chat dosing something like a trace element, whether it be iodine or manganese or anything that you have no idea if it's doing well or not, if you should have it or not?
Me, sir.
What are you dosing other than that manganese then?
Not really. Every now and then, I've got a bottle of iodine, tropic marine iodine. Every now and then, maybe once a month, once or 2 months, I'd put a drop in. Although I do ICP tests, but that if you were doing that every day, it's very easy to do. Actually, a really good example of this was when I first started using carbon dosing, so the tropic marine one, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You do it to reduce nitrate and phosphate, right? I started dosing it and I was testing quite regularly to make sure I didn't do too much. And then I was like, it's all going fine, let's leave it. I tested a month later and it had gone pear-shaped. So it's not only that you can't test for it, but you need to keep on top of the testing.
Yeah, of
to
course.
make sure you're not, and it's a pain, but you got to do it.
I love that people are being honest. I think this is like an intervention, not intervention, where people are going, yeah, I'm yeah. Where so it's interesting. So Gary said that he's dosing iodine, but you said if you overdose iodine, it can be really, really bad. So that's one of the things. Gary might not realize that he could be potentially causing a problem. I don't know how bad iodine is if you overdose it.
So I've never done it. I've never had the problem myself, but I've seen several people say they've overdosed iodine and it starts to cause stuff to strip. And because the trouble is with things like iodine, you'll do a bit of research and you'll get someone who knows what they're talking about, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, zoas need iodine."
Yeah.
And I'm sure they do. I mean, corals need ammonia, but you don't dose ammonia. But so someone else, you'll see that, and zoas need iodine. Oh, great. Oh, and shrimp do to molt. Right, brilliant. In that case, they can't molt if I don't put iodine. So you start putting it in.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, actually, you're getting iodine sources from elsewhere, so you don't necessarily need to put it in. And if you do start putting it in, how much do you put in? And
well, as I said, I don't know, but there was a few people that have said that so some people there's a few different people saying they're dosing different things. I'm not sure what it means by the rule doesn't fit iodine and manganese, but I'm not sure what that means.
It definitely fits iodine. Manganese, I think the point is that it's difficult to overdose it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's impossible to.
I'm still not willing to risk that. I was partly tempted just to, because it says I got low copper, to get a copper. And just because imagine the video. Imagine the clickbait of the video. I put copper in my tank. And it would just be me with one drop.
Yeah. But that's the thing. And to be fair, with things like, because I don't know that, like the science side of the hobby, I'm not great on, to be completely honest. But you don't need to be. Yeah. You don't need to understand. Like, if you ask me to explain what alkalinity is, it's something to do with the point at which an acid becomes a base. But I don't actually know what alkalinity is. I don't care. What I know is, it comes in a bottle. I know how much I need to dose. I know why I need to dose it.
Yeah.
And I know what happens if you get it off. So I don't care about the science side of it. So it might be actually that manganese thing is completely true. And I'm not saying it isn't, but it's completely true. And so you don't need to worry. You can pour in 100 milliliters a day and it's fine.
Yeah.
But why risk it? It's far better to have a cautious attitude to everything in beekeeping. Because otherwise, one day you'll trip up and you'll be like, oh, well, I dosed manganese that much. Well, I might as well dose iodine. And you dose 100 milliliters of iodine and it'll kill everything. So...
What I realized earlier, the practicality of the hobby is not that hard. It's basically it's a maths equation essentially.
Yeah.
The problem of the hobby comes from the biological side, whether it's bacteria or pests or disease or something like that. But the actual just the basics of you need to keep your parameters at this much, and if they're lower, you put a bit more in, and if they're too high, you stop putting as much in. That's it, essentially.
It's really easy. This hobby is actually if you strip it back, it's a piece of piss. Yeah. But it's because sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees. And I often get people ask me questions. And if you sat down and talked to them and say, what do you think? They'd be like, oh, yeah, it's obvious now. But you don't think, because you think, well, I don't know anything. So I don't understand it. But if you just try to realize that it's not that complicated, and try to think logically.
Yeah.
A bit dangerous sometimes, but it's actually really easy with most stuff because, like, do you know what? I want these are the levels it needs to be at, so I'll just
Yes.
test and keep them at that level.
That's the
If it goes up,
physical side of the hobby. That I think the biological side, I think, is the bit that makes it harder because sometimes even when you do all those things right,
Yeah,
you
that's
still have
true.
trouble with the biological side.
Well, and on the video that I talked about on Friday, and I said these are all the things that I do, and my tank looks wicked for LPS,
Yeah.
and that's what I think you should do for most people. And someone commented and said, I do all of that, my parameters are the same, and everything's dead. And sometimes the hobby is just
one.
it's just
There's
a
always
bitch, isn't
one.
it? But
Yeah.
I believe it. But sometimes the hobby is just a pain in the ass. And even in that tank, I'm going to say I'm going to do an update properly. Even in that tank, that looks fantastic. 99% of the corals are
Yeah.
amazing. 1%. Look, there's one gunny that's just constantly pissed off. No idea what's wrong with it. It's not being pecked by any fish. The parameters are all spot on. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't
And
know why it
let
won't
me
snap
guess,
out.
all your other gunnies are doing just perfect.
They are, Ryan.
Yes, they.
And that one I've had it for a while as well. But so it's just like sometimes the trouble is it's easy to when you look at your tanks, and I've done this loads. I look at my tank and I think, that coral's sulking, but everything else is fine, so it's probably all right. But if you test it,
You
then
realize
at
it's
least
not.
exactly. But then every now and then you'll test everything's spot on, and you can't work it out. And that gunny, it's been like that for a while. Don't know what's wrong with it. Can't tell you what's wrong with it.
Have you tried moving it?
Yes.
Well,
No improvement. But I'll send off an ICP, and exactly. That's the thing. Anyway, sorry, I'm interrupting. Carry on.
No, I was literally just looking at my list because someone in the comments earlier, we won't be able to find it now, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but he basically said there is no secret. You just need to just do the basics and keep things sort of stable. So although I've given you the first part of this was showing you how you can increase by increasing your pH and with the alkalinity. Most of it, these are the things I've written down, which I actually think will help you be more successful in the hobby. Yeah. I think biodiversity in our tanks, I think, is a big deal. That's what I think will help. It's been helping with the water box. There's many little mouths and lots and lots of little random creatures and all the different types of bacteria that you can get. So that's why people had high success with live rock, but less success with sterile tanks. And that's because of the amount of biodiversity that comes in with those.
But so it's really important because you talked about different size mouths. Often people say biodiversity, and it's like a generic thing that's thrown around. It doesn't really mean anything. Because what do you mean biodiversity? Someone asked on the Facebook group, and they've been told my torch is dying because I need more biodiversity. It's like, well, what does that mean? What do you put in a piece of rock? But what do you mean when you say that?
So biodiversity is obviously lots and lots of different organisms. So I tried to introduce as many different organisms from the coral farm into the water box tank, whether it be bacterial. So I actually took bacterial rocks from both different systems because although they're run the same and they're right next to each other, they have different corals in them that come from different parts of the world. So I don't know if you saw the BRS bacterial. Of course you saw the BRS bacterial tests where they took tests of all the different tanks, and all the bacteria in all the different tanks are all completely different. But the successful one had large portions of a specific type of bacteria, I believe, but they still were all different. So I took both of that to try to introduce different types of bacteria. The chances are, though,
never add something to your tank that you can't test for. Wise man once said.
Well, I don't know who that wise man is, but don't listen to him. That's when I say you can't test for. I'm referring to the things that are marketed in bottles rather than I don't think, other than introducing a pest, I don't think I could do more harm than good from doing that. So, and the other thing is, as I said, I introduced as many different creatures as well, because that will I'll mention them in a minute. But I think that if you can get animals in the tank to do the job for you, it makes your life so much easier.
Because the biodiversity that we mentioned earlier, I like. For a start, lots of different bacteria, maybe, but it's difficult to know what you're adding. But things like copepods, amphipods, different snails, even I like adding corals sometimes because they've got stuff on that frag plug or whatever, and you should dip it, of course. But
See, I what I did as well. I got corals in recently, and I don't know how much of this would have been if this would be a good or bad idea. I cut a cube out of the skeleton. It was quite a big piece of rock, and I just cut every edge off, so there was nothing on it. That so it was literally just a cube of the inside of the rock, and put that in there as well. Just because then there's no photosynthetic pest on the outside, is there?
Yeah.
And it was literally just porous. Now, could I introduce something? Every time you put anything in your tank, you could introduce something.
But we've said this before. You and I are not really fussed about introducing pests anymore. For the most part.
That's why
I used to be terrified. I used to be like,
yes.
I can't buy live rock because I'll get an aptasia. And now it's like, I'll get something that gets rid of the aptasia.
That I think is what's, I said this to you earlier, is what has, like, to some extent ruined my experience with a water box, because I'm not running it how I would normally do. I'm too busy going, don't let any Asterinas in, don't let anything in. Even though if Asterinas got in, firstly, they will probably get in eventually. Secondly, it's not a big deal. And thirdly, what's the worst, like...
You won't have seen this, but Worldwide Corals did a bit. Worldwide Corals have been doing loads of videos lately. They've really stepped up. It's good. But they did a video recently of one of their tanks, their Euphilia tanks, I think it was. And they were just like, we haven't scraped the algae for a week or whatever. We just want to show you how we freshen it up a bit.
Yeah.
And they had Asterinas everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, someone else.
Yeah. Oh, you sent them some of yours too, did you?
No, I didn't. But they weren't. They wanted to get rid of them, but they weren't fussed. Is the point? Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, but yeah. So I just I think the more stuff I've added to the tank, you can tell the difference between a healthy and a sterile tank. And the more stuff I've added to it, you saw it today. I think you were surprised at how healthy the populations of microfauna were. So have I. Like, especially to see them during the day. So I think that makes a difference. So that was the next thing on my list. Is there anything else that you would like to add to the biodiversity section?
You talked about mouths. One thing for algae purposes, keeping algae at bay, different fish do different jobs. And one of the things, so the downside of my fox face going back to the local fish shop because he started eating my scully, bastard, is that I've got this brown furry algae, sort of hairy algae growing on the power cord for my power heads now. And that was never there before because he ate it. My tummy tang doesn't eat it, nor did the snails. He used to. So
I would get a zebrasoma because they have the similar sort of mouth shapes.
Exactly. That's the thing, and because that's the thing, you need the tummy tank. In my main tank before, I had the coal tang, which is the bristle tooth. They do that all day long and just scrape away at the rock. And then I had the rabbit fish who's got big teeth and will eat the big stuff. That's the perfect combo because then they do things that the others don't.
Yes.
And so like it's not just snails and copepods and that sort of stuff. You need different size mouths. You need some fish as well to do that.
Correct. So say I wrote. Well, I wrote that prevention is better than a cure with regards to these things. But if you fail, it's not the end of the world because there are, and this sort of fits with what we're talking about. Predators are the best way to manage these problems. So there are predators for flatworms. There are predators for different types of algae. There's very few things that you cannot find something which will deal with it for you. Vermitids are the ones that
Vermitids are pain in the ass,
yeah. But most people just sort of learn to live with those, I feel, and they usually reach a population density and then they sort of die back. And the other thing is, it's usually because you're overfeeding. If you've got like out of control vermitids, it's usually because you're putting in too much fine. If it doesn't, this was someone mentioned it earlier. I think it was John. I think John said he had vermitids. It'll be interesting to know if John feeds coral like powders because that's the sort of stuff that they eat.
I don't. So I've got it in the cade, and I only feed mysis. Don't feed anything else at all.
Yeah, but are they out of control?
No, not really.
Yeah.
They'll
be everywhere if you start feeding coral food.
This is true. And that was the one thing. So I went through about 6 months of feeding Red Sea Reef Energy. When it first came out, they sent me a bottle. And so I went through that in a month or two. And I bought another bottle and then I bought another one. And I couldn't tell you if it increased growth or not because there was no controlled experiment. So who knows? Yeah. I can show you what the corals grew by. But the one thing I was always thinking is, because I noticed that I had digitate hydroids popping up and I had I could see vermitid snails and I was like, this is probably feeding them, and aptasia, I was like, well, how much impact is it having on them?
Yeah.
Probably the same proportionally to the impact it's having on the corals. But I don't know. But that was always in my head. I was like, well, do I really want to be doing that? Because you are feeding everything. If you're broadcast feeding, you're feeding everything.
Yeah. And for all the people out there that are broadcast feeding, I don't broadcast feed anything.
Do you not?
No, I don't feed any people. This always surprises people. I don't feed any coral food to the corals. They don't need it.
No. That I tried to feed that orange and green fungi the other day. I've been for the last couple of weeks. I've been working on a 3D printed cage.
Of course, you are
to put over corals to stop shrimp getting to it because I want to feed my scullies are still looking. They need a bit of help to recover. And I tried it on the fungi because there's a couple of patches on it. It's not like 100. It'll be fine. But I put the cage over it. And the shrimp couldn't get to the food, but my little starfish, my little serpent star, stuck his little leg through and started pinching the food.
Clever. You need a bigger cage.
Yeah, but then how much space you? But anyway, do you target feed any corals at all?
If I have a coral which is not doing as well, it's quite unusual, but then I will try target feeding it. There are some corals that do need target feeding. So like scallies would be one of the ones I would target feed. It's usually like the big fleshy corals. Yeah, but generally speaking, no, I don't. If something is started to recede or has come in not very healthy, like when it's come in like on import or something, I'll give it a go. But as a general rule, I don't. And I usually just target feed like mysis. I don't feed like powders because if you put powder in, it goes everywhere. So
no, I don't like powder. I did buy for the fungi and the scallies that I want to feed.
Yeah.
This is whenever I do feed it, I buy this stuff. Vitalis LPS coral pellets. It's probably the same. I've not even looked at the ingredients. I should have done.
It's probably exactly the same as fish.
Probably the same as fish food.
Yeah.
But what's it got? Protein 42%, crude fat 9.4%. Anyway, whatever it is.
Fungi are fun to feed, but you don't need to feed them.
No, but and it's a pain in the arse spot feeding. That's why people prefer to broadcast feed because it's easy.
Yeah.
And Red Sea Reef Energy glows yellow. It looks cool.
Yeah.
But spot feeding is a pain in the arse.
The only thing I spot feed every single day is the carper bands.
No, really?
I do. They have a little like a turkey baster, and they've learnt now that they put their nose into the turkey baster.
Oh, how funny.
And they eat from there. The problem is all the other fish are attacking the turkey baster while they're trying to eat out of it because they know that if they hit it hard enough, sometimes some will come out and they can grab it.
Close Reef on Instagram has been posting videos of her doing that with her seahorses lately. And they like the little mice just pop out and they go. It's quite cool.
She even got seahorse. I thought she got rid of her tanks.
She's getting another tank. I don't know if they're old videos or something. I don't know, but I just saw a couple of videos and it was cool to see spot feeding. Yeah, no, you don't like seahorses, but I just like any animal like that. Even with the copper, it's the same thing. When you're directly helping an animal, it feels like you've got some kind of connection with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, actually, that was interesting. I remember I told you this today. I had a cob band which was doing really, really not very well, and it's quite unusual. I've had it for years, it was a sort of situation where I was like, "Oh, that looks like that might not survive," because it was literally like rotating upside down. So you know what I mean? Where it had like no like functions of where it could swim, but it was still eating, so it could get over to the food. But while it was pecking the food, it would just turn upside down. So I think this is a normal way. You'll be eating the food like this, like literally
in space.
Yeah. So I turned off all the flow and I started to like spot feed and feed it very, very regularly. And it's come back and it's completely. You saw it today. It's completely normal.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
I was shocked because I thought to myself, there is no way.
But you said you were spot feeding it every couple of hours, right?
Yeah, I was feeding it constantly. Yes. Yeah,
I mean, you're a full-time, you're literally a professional, I guess, but that's the kind of dedication it takes to do it. But it's really cool that it grew back.
I'm very surprised. It seemed. I wonder if it had some sort of like swim bladder issue or something, because that's what causes them to lose their ability to.
I feel like that's the sort of thing that when they're weak, everything just goes. Because like when you're ill, everything goes, doesn't it? So I feel like that was, I don't know, maybe it was part of.
So what I should do? I should move it into the water box. Like have a go at the copepods.
Yeah, that's true.
And the white spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not a good idea.
No. But any other words of wisdom, right?
Oh, I've got a few if you want to run through them, but like
Go on then.
quickly. I think routine is essential because if you don't have a routine, then you will forget to do things.
You had a good example of that.
Oh, the auto top up. So you need to have an auto top up barrel which is big enough to last an entire week, because that way every single Sunday or every Monday, it's a specific day every week, you will fill it up and then you won't forget to do it. Yeah. If it runs out every 3 days, you're like well, this is what I found anyway. I would just hear while I'm watching TV, or I'd come down in the morning. I'm like, why is the tank so noisy? It's because I had forgotten to refill it. So having a routine, as far as I'm concerned, can significantly increase your success. And one of the biggest ways to ruin a routine is not having a barrel big enough for your RO water. That's genuinely what I found. That was on the Red Sea tank. Automate not everything, because not everything needs to be automated, but the essentials. So dosing, if you've got lots of corals, or even if you've got a few corals, is as far as I'm concerned, is essential. And also the auto top up is the essential. Yeah. You don't need to automate testing. That's not essential. You don't need to
automate water changes.
Yeah, you don't need to do those. However, water changes are one of the things which I actually personally believe significantly people can do it without water changes, but it significantly increases your success if you do them. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's the sort of thing. But the trouble with water changes is if you stop doing water changes for a month, things might suddenly look better, or it might be no different. And you think, oh, great. But it's not about the very short term. It's over a longer period of time.
What I've always wondered, when I go away, some corals look better than when I'm here. So when I go away for 6 weeks, I'm like, why do you look better when I've ignored you for 6 weeks?
That's got to be a nutrient thing, hasn't it?
It's usually the acans that look better.
Okay, that's fine.
I think the parasite knowledge, this is something for like more of the beginner people, is something which is often overlooked. A lot of people don't have the ability to identify what parasites that we get in our tanks.
As in fish parasites?
No, sorry, not pests. Sorry,
yes. Pests. Yeah.
Well, to some extent, if you think about it, it doesn't affect coral growth, but yes, pests. The ability to identify pests is something which people don't usually. I wouldn't say they're particularly hot on as beginners.
Give me an example.
What example of pests? Well, loads of people wouldn't know what a vermitid snail was. Loads and loads of people wouldn't know what they were. Just because we know what they are doesn't mean everyone is. But I can tell you the ones that I cover in the consultations. 1 second.
On the Facebook page, stomatail snails is the one that gets posted probably the most often that I tend to notice, I think. They're not pests.
The pests I cover with people are Aptasia, Mahano, yeah, that's one. Flatworms, hadroids. I saw this. I can say this. No, I'm not going to say it. So I literally was. What would you say?
Go on, say it.
I was in a shop, and I knew the coral had hadroids on it, and the owner of the shop knew the coral had hadroids on it, and someone was buying this coral with hadroids on it. But I can't be the person that says, don't buy that in front of the owner of the shop. If you see what I mean,
it's the owner of the shop shouldn't be.
It's
a hydroid's that bad?
Yes. Well, if they get out of control, they can be.
Yeah, okay.
But like, I don't want to get banned from shops, if you see what I mean. But I also don't want the person to do that. And then I also think, well, it's their responsibility. And if they had known more, then they wouldn't be in this situation. So maybe they'll learn something. It's hard. Where is the line of policing that I should do, if you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just think, and I have got involved before, and people don't like it. So I just went, you know what?
I remember you said, you had a fish with white spots or something that someone was buying.
Yeah. I just right, that's down to you. I also do vermitid snails, Asteria starfish, and nudibranchs are the things that I do in the consultations. I'm definitely the villain in that story. The villain to the shop or the villain to the person who bought the coral?
How do you identify that? Look up colonial hydroids, Licia.
Yeah,
they're like little furry things.
Yes. So I think it's well worth people, because if you know what they are, there'll be loads of people that won't know what those are. And if you didn't know what they are before watching this, go look at what they are now, because then when you go and buy a coral, you'll make sure you don't buy it with those on them because they're obvious. So, but there are people that post, I don't know what an aptasia is. So there's just because we know what
that's
aptasias
really
are.
common.
Just because we know what they are doesn't mean everyone knows what they are.
Yeah.
So I think that those pests are one of the things that are often missed with beginners. I don't think pests are. They want to learn about like some of the elements and things like that, but they're not focused on some of the more obscure pests. So that's that. What else have I got? A regular testing as well, and I'd say that's pretty much it. I know we were going to talk about light and flow, but I think we have come to the end because our opinions differ on how important light and flow is.
A discussion for another. Maybe that's next week. How important?
Maybe. Yeah.
Just one question from Bish Bash Ash, who says, "Is invasive ulva algae a tank shutdown jobby? I had it in a small tank once, and I was trying to find what eats it, and one of the things that does eat it is a walrus. So,
a walrus.
Walrus apparently they eat ulva.
No, helpful advice.
There are plenty of things that do eat ulva. Tangs probably. What's rabbitfish? One spot foxface eat them. I had ulva in my water box. If it takes hold, then it's a nightmare and it is a tank shutdown job. Sea lettuce, it's called, I think. But it got in my water box and I was gutted. I was trying to keep it out, but it's completely gone now. And my foxface has disappeared and hasn't come back. Foxfaces eat it for sure. Tangs probably do. Well, zebra sailors and that sort of stuff. So no, it's not. It can be a tank shutdown job, but and mine went crazy. But it doesn't have to be. If you get the right fish, they can get rid of it. But there's a couple of different types of ulva. Anyway.
Yeah. That's it, as far I believe.
Bye.
Well, I haven't got anything else to say, I don't think.
All right. Well, we'll talk about other stuff another time then.
Yeah. As I say, I would be interested to do. I don't know how much of a discussion it will be, but the one where we discussed light and flow, because you obviously have very, very strong opinions on it, and I have absolute evidence that it doesn't matter that much.
Oh, okay, fine. We'll have that conversation. But okay, we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. I don't want to do it now. I don't want to do it now.
I don't disagree with you necessarily. I know what you're saying, and actually, less light. One thing I will say is with most tanks, except Aquapora, less light is more.
Yes.
I was actually slightly surprised when I did the PAR test before my video last week. I knew I didn't have it, or I didn't think I had a peak of higher than 150, but it was 80 in a lot of places. I didn't realize it was that low. I thought it was going to be a bit higher. I was pleased with that.
Well, you saw that the freak hair pavona today, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's growing under the
PAR. Yeah.
It was probably
shaded.
It's not shaded. It's got like a sliver, hasn't it?
Yeah,
it's got the tiniest sliver of light.
It's funny because some corals in that situation won't grow at all, and others do appreciate it.
That coral grows better under that than it does like on the actual tray, doesn't it?
It's funny.
And the what was the other one? That freak hair? No, not freak hair. The funny farm Leptoceras you saw. Remember, it was great. You went, oh, what's that green piece?
Yeah. Green piece.
That was doing it as well.
Just before we go, I've lost it now. But Jay made one point. Here we go. Jay's Real Reef said that the issue with advising in this hobby is that no two tanks are the same. Do plenty of research, introduce changes in small incremental steps, make your own decisions for your own tank. The last point there, well, that's all good advice, but in particular, you've got to make your own decisions. I think, and this is just basically, this is the world according to me and Ryan. Don't mean we're right.
Yeah,
we are, but
but why would anyone doubt us?
But the thing is, you do the final point of that Jay's made is really valid. You've got to make your own decisions, because you'll have me and you saying this, and then you'll go and speak to other people who are very, very knowledgeable. They'll tell you something else, and it's like, so you've got to be able to work out yourself. It's just getting, and that point does come. I don't know, a year, whatever, however long it is, it does come. It's just getting there can be a little bit difficult, and that's what. And I think this video is aimed at people who aren't quite there yet, and you just like, I just want to follow stuff blindly and try to understand it later, maybe. So,
well, that's what when I was running the tank originally at the alkalinity of 12, I had no idea why I was doing that. I just did it. I literally just did it because I read on Ultimate Reef that that's what you should do.
And that's so the coral blizzard stuff earlier. That's exactly what I mean. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that stuff doesn't work. It's just it's the sort of thing that you read it and you're like, it increases coral growth. Wicked. I'll do it
Yeah.
then. It's like, well,
what they don't tell you on Ultra Reef, in that post, was that it also gives you burnt tips. Like,
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's funny the thing. I look back and go, some of the things I did were just
Oh God,
like,
tell me about it.
yeah, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot
Yeah.
over the years.
Indeed. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching. Loads of comments today. So thanks for engaging on that sort of stuff. Really enjoyed it. And we will catch you next week.
Yeah. See you later.
Thanks, Ryan, as well. Bye.
Bye.